Hello, hello, this is Marcus Stewart, and welcome to Marcus Talks About Games, episode 19, The Rise of Marcus, I guess? Not Skywalker, it's not as cool. My name's not as cool as Skywalker, so like The Rise of Stewart Walker, video games. I'm back, I'm back from my hiatus. I think the last time I spoke to you guys was post E3, but I am back, and I won't spend too much time because I got a big show ahead where I have invited a special guest, a good friend of mine, Naomi Lugo, co-host of the Best Games Period podcast with another friend, Jack Gardner, and her and I are going to preview all of the big upcoming games left in 2019. The 2019 Game Preview Spectacular. We're tackling all the big stuff like Death Stranding, Pokemon Sword and Shield, The Outer Worlds, and so much more. We'll be tackling each game by date, chronologically. I think the only thing that's changed since we recorded this about 2 weeks ago is that Destiny 2 Shadowkeep got delayed from its original September release like 2 weeks back. So I believe it's launching sometime early October. So I believe that's the only thing that has changed since Naomi and I recorded this. But other than that, it is a pretty current list of, I think about 20 or 25 big games coming out this fall. And I'm really excited for you guys to listen to it. So without further ado, sit back and enjoy myself and Naomi break down 2019's remaining heavy hitters. Enjoy. Yep, there they are. There's those lines.
Right microphone.
All right. Right microphone this time. Yeah. Hey, everyone. This is Marcus. I'm back again, and this is totally the first time that I have attempted this particular segment of the episode, but I am joined by a dear friend of mine, one Naomi Lugo.
Hi.
Hi.
I miss, since this is the first time recording, we're not missing out on audio adventures at all.
Totally. This is absolutely 100% fresh, first try. No, it's not. Actually, this is the second time, guys. We were recording the intro to this episode, and then somehow on my end, I don't know how, completely not my fault, saw that my microphone wasn't recording. So we had about 5 minutes of banter, and now it's been lost to the ether, the digital ether forever. So you will never hear all the incredibly profound and thought-provoking things that we were saying.
About Doom knockoffs.
Yes, Doom knockoffs and Chex Quest and Naomi playing video games from cereal boxes, all that good stuff. It's all gone. So I'm sorry, guys. You're just going to have to make do with the boring stuff. Like we're going to talk about tax returns and, I don't know, Brussels sprouts or something.
Death, taxes, and Brussels sprouts. They all come for you.
They're all inevitable. They're like Thanos. But yes, so for the second time, let me welcome you guys to the 2019 game preview. And by 2019, I mean the back half of 2019. Basically, Naomi and I have a list of the remaining noteworthy titles coming out this year. And we are just going to go down the line and give our thoughts on each one's, what we're excited about, what we're not so hot on, everything in between. And this is not a full list of everything coming out this year, because that would take an eternity and a half. This is a more curated things of just stuff that I think, one, is big enough to talk about, and also something that both of us might have something to say. So I'm just going to get this out the way now. If you're a Ghost Recon fan, we're not going to be talking about Breakpoint, because neither of us, frankly, give a crap about Ghost Recon or play Ghost Recon.
On Ghost Recon, I know nothing. Oh, that's not true. I know some things, but they're not very deep, I guess.
I know the Punisher's in a new one, and I think that's pretty cool. And that would be about the extent of my thoughts on it. But hey, and what we do have for you is a list of like 24, 25 games separated by month. They're all in chronological order, and we're going to be starting in August. And I said it again. Second time, August. And before anything else goes wrong, let's just hop right to it. And the first like I said, this has just been a comedy of errors getting up to this point. And it's all been entirely on me. I apologize, even though you guys have no idea what they were. So I guess I'm more apologizing to Naomi than you guys.
And I may or may not accept the apology. You'll just have to listen to the entire podcast to find out.
Yes, it's the greatest of cliffhangers. So the first game I have on here is a game actually I've already been playing a bit of, is Oninaki from Tokyo RPG Factory, Square Enix. This is the follow-up to the Lost Sphere, and I Am Setsuna. It's coming August 22nd. There is a demo that just came out recently that I've been playing through. I don't know if you've played it, Naomi, or if you've seen it, but
I opened it up for like 5 minutes. So I'm interested to hear what you think of actual gameplay.
Yeah. The quick premise, it's like in this world where like everyone is kind of obsessed with death to a degree. Like death is like part of the culture, and you play as this guy who's like this job called a watcher, and their jobs are basically to more or less ferry dead souls to the beyond, because sometimes when people die, they stick around because they have unfinished business. You know, maybe it's like, hey, I want to see my family, or just whatever it is, some sort of regret. And so the Watcher's job is to make sure that these specters get to the next life. And I haven't finished the demo, but I've played a lot of it. I'm probably like, I think I played like over a half hour of it. And it's like, unlike the other games, it's not turn-based, it's just all action style combat. So it's pretty basic hack and slash. You're just going around beating the crap out of things, and it's fine. It's not like amazing, but it's not bad either. Like, I think with this game, the premise is gonna carry it more than anything, because I think it's a really unique premise.
And that was my thoughts. I opened it up briefly on my Switch and was like, okay, you know, kind of another one of these, right? But looking more at that story, it's exactly like you said. It sounds super interesting, and from what we've seen in the trailers, there's like a separation between these two worlds: the world of the living, and then the kind of limbo world where these specters live. And that part looks beautiful and great, and I'm really hoping that they do some interesting storytelling with these specters, you know, not just like fetch quest style, like, oh, okay, there's a soul over there, go escort it across to the other side. But I feel like there is a lot of storytelling mechanics that can make it really interesting.
Did you get to the family thing? The little boy and his family? Did you get to that part in the demo? Oh, man. So something already interesting happens with that. I won't spoil it for you till you get there, but there's a part where you have to ferry a little boy who died, and his wish is that he wants to see his family one more time. And the way that plays out is really, really something else. And I think it, like, early on kind of delivers in terms of, like, the potential of where they can take that story.
Okay, cool.
So, but yeah, after playing that demo, I was interested in it, seeing the trailer. I'm more interested in it playing it. And yeah, like I said, my impressions the whole time are like, I'm only playing this because I want to see where this goes. Like, I'm interested in this world and, like, his job. And, like, again, the gameplay's fine, but it definitely hasn't, like, blown me away. But hopefully the narrative does. So that's Oninaki. Again, August 22nd, free demo now. It's coming to, like, everything, pretty much. So, like, I'm playing it on PS4. You're playing on
Vita.
Switch. Vita, yes. No, that's not true. Don't. I saw some, in case your ears perk up at Vita. Like, really? Like, no.
No, I'm just here to build up your hopes and then dash them immediately.
That is why I brought you on.
Yep. Hope dasher.
Next game that I hope is good is Ancestors: The Humankind Odyssey, specifically the PC version of this game, because the console versions were coming later. They don't have a date. I think it might be later this year or tentatively 2020. So yeah, but this is we've talked about this game in other podcasts before. I think if you listen to the E3 shows we did for Extra Life, I believe we discussed this game, but this has been in the works for years. It is the brainchild of Patrice. I always butcher his last name. It's like Desailles. He basically one of the key creators of the Assassin's Creed franchise, was at Ubisoft for a long time, worked on Prince of Persia, And basically, you play as early, like, humans or, like, apes at the birth of humanity. And the game takes place over different periods of, like, the formation of mankind. Like, going from, like, cavemen to, you know, Homo erectus, Cro-Magnon, stuff like that. And I believe the entire game takes place in Africa. But I've been looking for it for a long time. I think it's a really cool premise. It's got gameplay that kind of involves, like, you're out in open world and you're, like, hunting and gathering and kind of like a survival game, it looks like. I'm fascinated by it, and I have been for a long time, and I'm happy to see that it's actually coming out, because it was one of those games for a long time that you didn't hear about for a long time. You just assumed maybe it was canceled or what was going on with it. But yeah, what do you think, Naomi? I think this is a really cool looking game.
It reminds me, premise-wise, of, like, Spore, but, like, 2019 version, where you see these different lines and you probably have, like, some sort of impact, like if you gather enough food and, like, provide for the young. So I'm really interested in seeing, like, how they play that part of it. Like, is it super science-based, like, or is it just strictly, like, RPG, or, like, survival? And then you just keep on going generations and generations up. So, I mean, it's a fascinating concept, and I think it's something that could evolve into a genre of its own, where we just, like, explore these scientific concepts, but through gaming. And, like, Spore, I brought up, it tries to do that, but definitely kind of falls flat when it comes to actual gameplay. So I'm glad to see this kind of concept come back to light.
Yeah. And hopefully all that work pays off. And I'm a little miffed because my PC isn't really the greatest for gaming. It's okay, but probably not good enough to run this the way it should be. So I'm going to be waiting a while for the console version. But I will be keeping an eye on the reception of this game. Fingers crossed that it lives up to its potential, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Next up is another game that I'm very, very excited for, and that is Control by Remedy, coming August 27th, the same day as Ancestors. They're going to be dueling each other. This is the game where it's kind of got like an X-Files-y thing where you play as this woman who works for this like CIA-ish kind of bureau, and basically, from what I understand, like extra dimensional entities invade this bureau, and then she becomes the new director of it and gets this like alien gun, and also acquires these sort of telekinetic abilities where she can lift objects with her mind and eventually like fly at one point. And the entire game takes place in that facility. And you're basically just trying to stop this invasion. And it looks really, really cool. Mm-hmm. Like, I like Remedy stuff for the most part. Like, I like Max Payne. I love Alan Wake. Quantum Break, I was like, it's okay. Quantum Break had its moments. But this definitely has that kind of Remedy, like, surrealness to it. At least in their last two games of, like, the supernatural elements of it. But I think just as a game, it pretty much looks like a modern day PsyOps from like PsyOps the Mindgate Conspiracy from PS2 with the mix of like telekinetic gameplay and just gunplay. But I just want to get in there and mess around with those powers and see how far
just float around
goes.
And go no.
Yeah, you're basically Jean Grey with a gun.
Yeah.
So
yeah, she has redhead too, so
That is true. Maybe that's what it is. They should have just named it that instead of Control, just Jean Grey with a gun.
That'd be such a great title.
That was the working title for the game.
Okay. I feel
maybe Dark Phoenix would have been a better movie if it was just Jean Grey with a gun.
It would at least be intriguing enough to like get people in, right? Or maybe just me, who's like super cynical and like, haha, that's funny. But yeah, I guess the title itself kind of bugs me. Like, it doesn't... Like, before this list, I didn't really remember this game or know what it was. And then, obviously, looked it up for research and all that. But it's, like, the title is, like, control because you're regaining control of this facility that's being invaded. I don't know. I feel like they could have done something a little bit cooler with that, but I suppose one-word titles always have that cool factor on their own.
Yeah, it's crazy because the game, like, has been somewhat under the radar, it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you aren't seeing it all over the place. But then when you see it, you're like, oh, yeah, this looks amazing. Like, it's interesting, like, the marketing campaign.
Yeah, I feel like...
Or maybe lack thereof.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like they could have... And I don't think it's necessarily the name. I think it's, just that lack of exposure because of whatever reasons.
Yeah, like, it feels like it's almost buried somewhat with all the other big stuff. But it's coming out in a month that, like, I think it's the biggest thing coming out in August, personally. So, you know, it's probably a good release window, like, summer for it, and not trying to put it in the fall with the traditionally bigger stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So... But yeah, I hope that delivers. That I think that's one of the games I'm looking forward to the most this year in general. So I will be playing it.
Don't disappoint Marcus, guys. Don't do it.
Don't you do it, Sam Lake. And another one I think looks really cool is Astral Chain from Platinum.
Yes.
Coming August 30th, Nintendo Switch exclusive, where you play as like a future cop where they're like handcuffed to like robots and they fight together.
That's their chain. It's the astral chain. They're chained to the robots. Yeah, this one kind of came out of nowhere. It was E3 where they just kind of put this reveal trailer in the middle of everything, and we're like, wait, what is that? That's a new IP. That it's only coming for Switch. So
I think it might have debuted before E3 because I thought it was a direct.
Oh yeah, it might be a direct. It was something like that where
and they showed it again at E3.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so I remember. Yeah, like it was a direct, but it was this year that it debuted. Like maybe like a direct, like in March or whatever. I forgot, but I remember that being one of the stands. Like, whoa, what was?
Yeah, exactly.
That?
It was like, wait. What is this? It's like a. I mean, it definitely seems very JRPG, but it seems like fresh enough where it's trying to do its own thing.
Yeah, it's very platinum-y.
Yes.
Like as soon as that logo popped out, I was like, yeah, that looks like something they would do. Like it's just crazy, over the top, silly, fun-looking combat,
but like super serious.
Yeah, like that's what makes it even funnier. Is that it looks like it takes itself mostly seriously. And yeah, like, and the other surprise that it was coming this year. So it was announced this year, and it's like, oh yeah, it's coming later this year. Like, oh, okay. When you guys like, because at this point we're kind of, or a lot of Platinum fans are kind of just waiting for more on Bayonetta 3, and then they dropped this other project out of nowhere. So hopefully this will be a good, if nothing else, a good holdover until Bayonetta 3 pokes its head out of its gopher hole, sees if she can see her shadow. If she doesn't, that means another 5 years of development time.
5 years? But, what is this, Final Fantasy?
Yes. The final Bayonetta. I don't know. I was trying to make a dumb wordplay with it. It fell apart in my mouth.
Bayonetta is hard to do wordplay with.
You're not Baya. Nah, that's not gonna work.
Nope.
But yeah, that looks really fun in a really goofy, dumb way, like all of Platinum stuff. So August 30th for Astral Chain, and that same day, this was a surprise from E3, and that is the Blair Witch game that looks better and better the more I see of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because at first it just seems like Outlast, you know?
We thought it was Outlast. I remember we just kept saying, like, oh, Outlast 3.
Yeah, we totally were during its reveal trailer, but it's Blair Witch, which is a cool property to explore in terms of video games since the movie came out, 1996, 1997 or something like that?
Yeah. Or actually 99. I remember
99.
Vividly.
Whoa.
Yep, it was 99.
Okay. But yeah, I was worried that it would just be a Outlast, you know, another reskin of a horror game where you're wandering in the woods with a flashlight and then something pops out at you, blah, blah, blah. But it seems like they are really trying to explore what makes Blair Witch scary, which is cool.
Yeah.
But without, like, relying on what they did in the movie. Like, it seems like they're doing their own thing. And so this comes from Team Bloober, which have done a couple of horror cyberpunky things. They did Layers of Fear, and then they did that other game which I cannot remember the name of.
Yeah,
that one.
everyone's favorite.
Yeah, that game. And I played Layers of Fear and I really enjoyed it. It was definitely a riff on what we saw in PT, where you just keep on going in this loop and things get progressively scarier, but they did their own thing with it and managed to take it as a concept and not just mirror it. So I have faith in what they can do, at least from what I've seen. The one thing, and this might just be nitpicky, that I didn't like, it was just the setup was like you play as like this detective or something wandering in the woods trying to figure out what's happening.
I think you're searching for like a kid.
Yeah, something like that.
Like a kid that's lost.
Yeah, which is kind of like an easy premise, an easy way to jumpstart the story, and you just this dude with I mean, I think they could have done something cooler with that, rather than just another dude going out to investigate something in the woods. I feel like that trope's been done. I mean, it was done in Resident Evil, it was done in Outlast, all of that. I think I think there was a lot that could have been done with that setup, but I get it.
Hey, it looks like I said, like the games from like the trailers I've seen, looks like it's tapping. So what made Blair Witch scary was that it's a very, with certain scenes exceptions, like it's got a subtle horror about it. Mm-hmm. Like it's the little things in that film, the first film specifically, that get you. Like something just feels off, and then you find something that's like, okay, this shouldn't be here. And it's it's not about like in your face horror. Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of gradually builds from there, where just things get progressively more just unsettling. And the trailer, the footage I've seen of it definitely seems like it's tapping into that, which is exciting and exactly what should a Blair Witch project should be.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's only studying that first film and not those other two. But
I don't even think I've seen the other two, and if I have, I've seen them like once. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's why I'm kind of nitpicking about the protagonist. Is the reason why Blair Witch was scary, or at least part of the reasons, is you are behind the camera with these three kids essentially, and there's scenes where you learn about their family, and they're just, you can kind of bond with them, and that's like another reason why there's so much dread, is they're these like college age kids, and they think they know what they're doing, but then they realize that they are really unequipped for this situation and everything. So that's a part of the reason why it becomes so terrifying, is they have that vulnerability to them. And I feel like just using a cop kind of takes away some of that. A cop is definitely prepared to combat any situation, right? But maybe they're gonna use that in the storytelling and use it as a way to, like, okay, this person thinks that they have this invulnerability because they have their weapon, they have their training, but they're really not. They're just as susceptible as everyone else.
Maybe they just get around it by the cop's just really bad at his job. He's just a terrible cop.
He's a bumbling, like Dudley Do-Right kind of thing.
Yeah, like he's like Inspector Gadget without Penny. So it's just worthless.
Inspector Gadget. Oh my goodness.
And hey, if Blair Witch doesn't do anything for you, there's another horror game coming out the same day, and that is Man of Medan, which is part of the Supermassive Games Dark Pictures like their anthology thing that they're doing. This is of course the same studio that gave us Until Dawn and The Inpatient, which is like the prequel to Until Dawn. So this is, I think they're all considered, or no, I think this is the first installment of the Dark Pictures anthology. So like Until Dawn and The Inpatient are their own thing, but this is more or less Until Dawn, but on a boat.
Yeah.
Where you play as a bunch of people sailing, I think they're like in the South Pacific for like a vacation, but then they get shipwrecked because of a storm, and they're trapped on a ghost ship with the captain. And like Until Dawn, you're controlling all of these travelers, and you're making like dialogue decisions and quick time events, and all of them can die or all of them can be saved or any combination of it. So if you're a fan of Until Dawn, you'll probably, this will be your jam, it looks like. It looks fine. I've never finished Until Dawn, but I liked it.
Yeah, I never played it myself because I didn't have like a PlayStation at the time or whatever. But I think, at least for me, what's most stressful about that type of game is like your skill level and your button, not mashing, but your quick time event accuracy is what...
Like your reflexes?
Yes. So that's what's kind of stressful for me is like, oh crap, this person might die because I didn't press the X button because I thought it was the B or something stupid like that. So I feel like...
Yeah, or like you weren't expecting something to happen. Like those games teach you to like never put the controller down.
Yeah, exactly. It's that tension that everything relies on you. So we'll see.
Yeah. Like very cinematic. It looks nice. We'll see. Like I know people weren't really hot on the Inpatient, which is kind of its own thing. I think it was in VR.
Well, yeah, it was only VR, right? So that kind of takes a lot of the accessibility out.
Yeah, so we'll see if they can rebound. Especially this is important. This is the first of that anthology, which is supposed to be like a collection of stories, I guess, set in the same universe or related in some way. So they kind of have to, you would think, hit the ground running with this one to make people interested in whatever mini games come after this. Trying to do a shared cinematic universe because that's the new hotness right now.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, being on a ghost ship sounds cool. I mean, that sounds like a fun place to explore. And like what I've seen from Until Dawn, I mean, they did a pretty decent job with the environment and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful facial capture, too.
Yeah. Oh, so I wanted to bring this up with one of our later games. I can't remember which one. But the use of like actors in games. How do you feel about that? Because I'm kind of mixed.
Like actual like their likenesses?
Yes, like full on, this is this person, but they're playing this person in this game.
I don't mind it if it's done, like, it's kind of the same way of, like, a movie, of, like, if it's done well, and it, like, if the writing, like, obviously if the performance is fine and the writing is good, then it's kind of like, for me, like any other actor, like, alright, like, they don't stand out, it's like, hey, that's Samuel L. Jackson. It's like, oh no, that's this guy, this character being played by Samuel L. Jackson. But, I don't know, the performance is really good to make me ignore that, holy crap, that's the Hollywood guy on the TV, and it just looks like him. I don't know, why? What do you think?
Well, I don't hate it. Like, obviously, it's, like you said, it's just like another person. But sometimes it seems like it takes me out of the video game universe because, I don't know, there's something about the suspension of disbelief in movies that we can just accept, and maybe it's just a matter of being exposed to it. Like, we're used to just seeing these actors over and over, and we just have to get into the mindset that we're in this universe that they're created. But I feel like it's like another universe crossing, right? Where not only is this a new video game universe, but we're going to use people from this, like, it's just an extra step for my brain, I guess. And I don't know how... I don't know. It's like it's like a visitor.
Yeah,
like exactly.
Your word, like, oh, you're not normally here in this world, but now you're here.
Like
it's like, hey,
like if they got someone to play like Link, that would be freaking weird,
Keanu Reeves is Link.
Oh my god, like that would probably take me way out of the game. But I don't know. I think it's just
put you more in the game.
I don't know.
Keanu Reeves is Link. I think I might be all over that.
I mean, I would totally be all over it. I don't know. I think it's just a matter of exposure. We obviously have a lot better tech nowadays to do that amazing face capture. So, yeah, like Keanu Reeves is an interesting point. We see him in Cyberpunk now. I don't know. It kind of, again, takes me out of the universe. Like, yeah, it's cool Keanu Reeves isn't here, but then it's like, that's Keanu Reeves talking in my brain. I don't know.
Yeah, you can't see him as the character he's playing. You just see him as Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, exactly.
I get that. I totally get, especially the bigger the name. I think it's easier when you get maybe someone smaller that you recognize, but when it's someone that big, you're like, like if Will Smith was like in Cyberpunk. You're like, shit, that's just Will Smith.
Yeah, they should just embrace it. Like, that is just Will Smith. Will Smith is just Will Smith in this game.
Okay, Fresh Prince is here. Holy crap, we're getting jiggy with it.
Na 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 na.
That's what I want. Alrighty, so moving on to September. First game we've got, not a new game, but a re-release and a noteworthy one, and that's Catherine Full Body Edition, I guess is what it go by. It's coming September 3rd. A lot of buzz around this game, both good and bad. Catherine, the original Catherine, released in 2011, and it's basically like a romance / puzzle game where you play as a dude trying to decide if he likes one of two Catherines, either Catherine with a C or Catherine with a K. The full-bodied one adds a whole new girl. I forgot her name, but it's not Catherine. Which I was like, how can it be Catherine if the new girl isn't named Catherine? But then I guess there's only one of two ways you could spell it. I guess maybe I don't know.
This one's Kathy with an IE. Just kidding. I don't know her name.
It should have been that. Or maybe I thought, why not just call her Cat?
Oh.
But then you'd have to decide, was it cat with a K or cat with a C? But yeah, so a whole new scenario added to it, which is cool. And it's also got some of that esports support because, if you're aware, but competitive Catherine has been a thing the last several years at events like EVO, with people playing the game side by side and seeing who can do the because the game has these box puzzles pretty much. That's like the bulk of the game, and seeing who could do that first. And it's a very unlikely scene that has gotten bigger and bigger.
That's crazy. Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, it makes sense. Like,
I did. Yeah, it's crazy, right?
It's
like
a hard game, so.
Yeah, and it's a weird game. Like, it's one of those unlikely games. Like, how do you play this competitively? And so, like, Atlas has leaned into that and just put, like, an actual competitive mode so that you can just do it instead of having to have two copies of Catherine and two TVs and just play side by side. So I think that's kind of cool and, in a way, hilarious that they're, like, aware of that.
Yeah.
And just leaned into it. So, yeah, and then, the game has also gotten a bit of a flack, and I think it's new stuff. I don't know if this was something that was in the original game, but like I've heard people complain about the way that I think a trans character was portrayed.
So that was in the original game, and there's a trans character. She is a waitress in the bar that is a frequent like cutscene area. It's where you meet up with all your pals and talk about, hey, is it bad to cheat on women? So they're one of those friends, and I mean, this isn't too much in spoiler territory, but it's something that you learn throughout the game, starts dating her, and it just gets really problematic from there. All the friends are giving him crap, like, oh, that was blah back in the day, that kind of stuff. So it's just not really very sensitive. But Atlas
hasn't aged very well, probably either.
Yeah, I mean, Atlas
like
has
2011 to now.
Yeah, that's a big jump. But Atlas has had problems with that in the past with their other games like Persona and whatnot. So it'd be interesting to see if they tackled that at all. I don't really think that there's been any news about them doing anything about that. But I mean, it's a game about infidelity, and just shitty people in general and bad behavior. So I think that you can still talk about these things narratively because, men are like this and people are like this towards trans people, but it's the way they did it. They use it as like easy humor, and instead of like looking
like a punchline.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of like looking at it as problematic and all that. So
Yeah, we'll see. I'm curious to see if they address that at all with the public criticism. But yeah, I'm interested. I've never played Catherine. I own it. I've had it on PS3 forever. It just was on my backlog. Like, the most I ever played was the demo that came out. So I was like, maybe this will be the one that I just finally like played again, because I've always been just really curious about it because it's such a weird thing. So we'll see. But let's see. Moving on to something less weird or more weird, who knows? Monster Hunter World It has an expansion. Yes, Iceborne. A very big expansion. That's coming September 6th. I liked Monster Hunter World a lot. I never finished it, but I played the bejesus out of it. And it was the first Monster Hunter I ever played, and that just grabbed me. And Iceborne looks really cool.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Pun definitely intended. I love in the trailer that you just see your little Palico like almost getting buried in snow, just like prodding through it. So cute. Anyway.
It's pretty cute. There's gonna be some cute Palico like gear, ice gear, probably.
Yeah, so
but yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like it's just like it adds a whole new like hunting areas, like a whole new region, new monsters, everything. Of course, if the title didn't give it away, ice based, frost based. It's really cold in this region. And yeah, like new armor. It just it is a massive it's the game's first real like expansion.
Yeah.
So
and I feel like it really respects how players play this game, because Monster Hunter is a very, very involved game. And you could really just play Monster Hunter for a while and just keep on diving into it. So I feel like they really gave their players new content that is going to satiate them, at least for a little bit. I also played Monster Hunter World, and I really liked it. I just can't get into... I can't get into a game where I have to kill, like, a sparky unicorn and, like, these awesome beasts, as lame as that sounds.
That's fine. I understand.
But I really respect what they do with the design in their weapons and the monsters. Like, they are genuinely challenging, and you have to come up with tactics, and there's different ways to do it. And it's just a great game, and I think they did a really good job bringing Monster Hunter to a wider audience.
Yeah. I like I said, World I had a ton of fun with. Those first two I put over like 50 hours into that game. I would like an excuse to go back to it. So
exactly.
Iceborne it's on my radar. I got my eye on it. Another game that's got the apple of my eye, so to speak, is Gears Don't Call Me of War 5. Just Gears. We're on a first name basis with the series now after 6 entries. Judgment would be the other one, in case you're wondering why it's at 6 and it's got a 5 in front of it. That's coming September 10th. I played that technical test recently, and it's Gears of War. And I'm okay with that. Gears of War, to me, is like the AC/DC of video games.
That is such a good analogy for it.
Like, every AC/DC album sounds like the same shit, but it's really good shit. And you're like, you know what? There's some artists you like to see different things from. AC/DC, I just want AC/DC. I don't want them to get experimental and be like, we're going to be like artsy or we're going to try something new. Like, no, just give me the loud AC/DC stuff where it's just really fun. That's all I want. And that's all I want from Gears. Like, I just want to take cover and shoot things and chainsaw things apart and just, make a world around it that's really fun.
Yeah, and speaking of that demo, it was pretty solid, multiplayer demo, or whatever it was called, tech test. It seems like they put some time into making it fluid and just fun, maybe for people like me who haven't really gotten into the Gears series, who can at least play the multiplayer. And even though it's not anything special, it's just solid and smooth.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, everything, same sound effects, same everything, which, again, might disappoint some. For me, it's been a long enough time since Gears 4, which I liked a lot, and I'm always surprised that Gears 4 isn't talked about as much as I guess I feel like it should. But yeah, it's that AC/DC thing of like, as soon as I got in, I'm like, yeah, that's right. Just having fun. I was like, I don't need this to be much more than what it is, I guess.
I would almost call it like Kiss instead.
Yeah, I mean, Kiss is another example too. Same, you could definitely lump those guys in with them. Just want Kate Diaz in Star Child paint.
That's actually in the first expansion.
Finally, yes, Kiss. I'm surprised there hasn't been more Kiss expansions in video games, considering like merchandise. Like Gene Simmons hasn't discovered that he could be in video games. I guess. I mean, there's been Kiss games, but
there have.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like an NES Kiss game or something. Because
I would not doubt it at all.
I would be shocked if there wasn't. There's no way.
Yeah.
He's not tapped a market that he can make money from.
I mean, there's definitely pinball. I'm sure there's some sort of arcade cabinet, so.
Oh yeah, there's definitely that's right. I forgot about the Kiss pinball game. I used to play that.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. Okay, we are back to talk about more video games coming out this holiday season. And next up, we have one of the more interesting entries on this list, and that is Greedfall by Spiders. That is the name of the team, Spiders, and I believe Focus is publishing it. Mm-hmm. And it is a kind of third-person action RPG where it has a cool premise where it takes place on this island that's this somewhat uninhabited island. Like, it's got like a local race of elves, and it's occupied by all these fantastical monsters, and it gets colonized by all these different factions that sail to the island, and they all want to stake their claim, and thus they all come into conflict with each other. And you play as a character who's kind of neutral to all this, and you decide who you want to join up with. You can join up with any of the, I think there's 6 or 7 different factions that are showing up here, or you can side with the locals and kind of go from there. And it's a bunch of, it's like a mix of like, kind of like, not quite open world, but open world-ish RPG action, and a lot of like choice-driven and like diplomacy stuff going on here.
Diplomacy,
Naomi,
bureaucracy.
Exactly, a lot of red tape. And what I love about this game is I love the premise. I think it's a really cool idea, but it's also got a cool like 17th century look about it that you don't really see a lot of fantasy games like kind of channel that era. Like a lot of it is like medieval-y stuff, like knights and stuff, but everyone here kind of looks like when you first looked at it, I thought it was like a pirate game at first.
That's fair.
Yeah, everyone kind of looks like pirates, but it's just that, just the garb of the time, I guess. But this looks pretty cool. Have you seen it, Naomi?
Yeah, I saw a preview of it last year's E3. It was a little rough back then, and in terms of gameplay, but I think they've really polished it up from what I've seen from like the newest trailers. It seems like they really defined what they want to do with the story, because at first I was like, oh, okay, a bunch of white people invading this island trying to get rid of a bunch of locals. Okay. But it seems like they actually went with that, and they're trying to explore that idea of colonization with the 7 different factions who are trying to take over this land of with these people or elves or whatever they are who have these magic powers. But the way, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus, but the way I was gathering was that they're not only magical, but they're like kind of witchcraft, Wiccan magical. Like they're connected to the earth, and yeah. So that adds like a whole other element to it, where they're really respectful of the land, but there's these people who want to come in and take it for whatever gains they want, whether it be territory, the natural resources, all of that stuff. It's definitely something we've seen in history a lot. So it's definitely interesting to see it in an RPG video game, especially like you said with 17th century like wigs and stuff.
Yeah, it's like it's Manifest Destiny, the video game.
Yep.
With monsters. The monsters look cool. Like it has a witchery vibe. A lot of the creatures I've seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the elves have like earth powers, or attuned to the earth. And yeah, the island is occupied by all these crazy fantastical beasts that you encounter and battle. And I think every faction has their own different kind of goals and purposes. So you kind of just side with whoever, kind of fits whatever you're into. But if nothing else, it kind of lends itself, or at least I would imagine would lend itself to multiple playthroughs, just so you can maybe see all the different factions and where you can go with them.
Exactly. It
but
kind of reminds me of another Focus game that came out earlier this year, and that's Plague Tale, where it's really not something that we've delved into a lot in video games, and that's like, in Plague Tale, they're kind of in the similar century era, like 17th, 16th, something like that. And the world is being overtaken by these swarms of rats, thus Plague Tale. And you're navigating it as a little girl and her brother, which is really kind of a, when you put it on paper, sounds like an indie game, but the way they present it is, like a bigger game. So yeah, I'm all for seeing different types of storytelling with games.
Me too. I still got to play A Plague Tale. I've heard very good things about it.
I've heard that it's awesome.
Very fascinated by it.
Yeah.
So, all right, and that's coming the same day as Gears, September 10th. So, the two G's of September going at it. That's what they're known as.
I wonder who will win.
And then not long after that, September 13th brings us the long-awaited Borderlands 3. So in 1 week, you got two very high-profile shooters. This is, of course, the first Borderlands game since, I guess technically since Tales of the Borderland, but if we're being traditional, then since the pre-sequel, which I believe was like 2013 when that came out. So it's been a long time. You'd be forgiven if you forgot that this game was happening because of all the other nonsense surrounding the PR of this game. Namely,
I'm gonna be a little crude and say they blew their load a little too soon for this one. I think, where it was like all the hype was up a few months ago, like earlier this year. Or I can't even remember. Maybe even last year.
It got announced at PAX East.
Oh, okay.
I remember that's when they had the big panel that revealed it and went through it, and then Randy Pitchford did his magic because the video wasn't working.
Yes. Okay. So they brought up all this hype about this game, and everyone was all stoked, and it seemed like it should have come out a lot sooner then. So that kind of, I think, has made me be like, okay, it'll come out eventually. So. Yeah.
It's in an interesting spot because it's sandwiched between Gears and the Destiny 2 expansion. So like they're all coming within a week of each other, and I think Borderlands is a popular franchise. It's a big brand. Like I think it'll do fine from like a visibility standpoint. I would imagine. I just wonder how much, if any, of like all the PR stuff around it with Randy Pitchford, the saga of Randy Pitchford over this past year, with all the nonsense, like the things that had nothing to do with the game, just all the nonsense with him and his shenanigans with the the falling out with his like attorney friend, and then the USB at the medieval times, and then his like overblown reactions on Twitter to like game publications, like just everything. It has died down a bit, which has been nice but there was like a period of like all spring and like half the summer where like you could not turn a corner and not run into some new Randy Pitchford nonsense where you're just like, oh my god, like. And I always feel bad for like the development team over at Gearbox. Like this is like the most I'm hearing about Borderlands 3 is something going wrong with the CEO of the company. So like that's got to be frustrating for working on this game, and that's the only the attention that it's kind of getting by association. But like I said, that's kind of died down. Maybe they put Randy in a closet somewhere.
Took his phone away.
But this game, I played it at E3, and my biggest concern with the game is I loved Borderlands 1 and 2 back in the day, and I've said this in previous episodes before, is that my excitement isn't where it should be, because the main hook of those games back then was that it was one of the first games to combine like a first-person shooter with like Diablo-style loot, and now that's everywhere. Like every shooter, it feels like, does that now. You got like Destiny, Anthem, Division. You can go on and on. So that hook isn't as enticing anymore, and in many ways, other games have done it better. And on one hand, that could work for Borderlands of like, hey, if you want like an old school style one of these of like, it's not a live game. Somewhat surprisingly, I kind of thought it would be, just because that just seemed like it would lend itself well to that. But it's a traditional like, hey, you and up to 4 friends hop online together and go, shoot some stuff in big, cell shaded world.
Yeah, and I feel like their cell shading, that was really big back in the day, but now it's like smooth cell shading, so where it just, I don't know, it doesn't have the same effect as it used to. Maybe I'm just used to seeing the Borderlands world, but I don't know.
It doesn't look that like playing it up close in the trailers. I was like, this doesn't look that much better than the old games just graphically. Like, I like the Borderlands art style. Like, it's, you know, it looks fine and it, you know, it's unique and it's recognizable. But I was like, prior to this game's reveal, I was like, man, like this generation's, you know, graphics with that art style would probably look even better. Like, they could really make it pop and look awesome. And so looking at it, I was like, this almost looks more like a up-res of like Borderlands 2 than like a true Borderlands 3 to me. And then playing it, my opinion didn't change that much seeing it up close. I mean, again, not that it looks bad. It just kind of isn't the leap that I was hoping for. And like, it plays like Borderlands. Like, I did a whole mission at E3, fought a boss, everything. It was fun. You know, you're like, okay, this is that thing, which if that's what you're looking for, then you'll probably be happy. Because again, it's been a long time since we've gotten one of these. But I need to see the full game, like, to see if there's anything else there that's surprising. That's what I want to know. Like, was there anything, any, like, innovation or whatever? Like, the Vault Hunters look cool, like, their abilities and whatever, but, yeah, I just want to know if it's going to be more than just that game again with the number 3.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see, and hopefully, Randy Pitchford, you just have to keep your mouth shut for just like another month. Just don't do any. Just keep your head. Just keep on the DL for one more month. Just let the game release in peace, please.
Gosh, and do not respond to reviewers, please.
Okay.
Because he went after Game Informer, right?
Yeah, that was a whole. Yeah, it's like Andy McNamara and him had this absurd back and forth, and not on Andy's part, it was on Randy's part, because he kept going and going with it. Like,
yeah, and Andy was just like, I'm doing my job, man. Like, yeah, this like is what we've been doing. Like, what?
Like, Randy just would not stop replying.
Yeah. So that was bizarre.
And Randy's bizarre definition of what a microtransactions are.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Jeez. All right. Well, we'll not get into that can of worms again. But anyways, the like I just mentioned, Destiny 2 Shadowkeep is coming September 17th. This is a big deal for a bunch of different reasons. Obviously, one, this is the next big expansion for Destiny 2 since Forsaken, but it is also the first big expansion and content drop from Bungie since they split off from Activision. So this is their first like wholly independent thing with Destiny. And this is also coinciding this same day with Destiny 2 going free to play on the same day with the Destiny 2 New Light, I think is what it'll officially be called.
That sounds right.
So yeah, Destiny 2, if you don't have it already, will be free to play, and it'll contain all the year one content, minus the expansion. So it'll have like all the raids and just anything that was out the box, but I think the only thing you have to buy is like the 3 expansion, or I guess the 4 expansions now up to that point. But everything else that they've added is just there, which is smart for, you know, it's the old tactic of like giving the razors away for free so that they have to buy the razor blades. I enjoy Destiny 2 quite a bit. I've been shocked at how they turned that game around, because I jumped off of Destiny 1 right after finishing that vanilla version of the campaign and just was like, I just not my thing. And 2 won me over. I haven't played Forsaken yet, but I did play the first 2 expansions. I need to get to Forsaken because I have it. But yeah, this is and you're going back to the moon in Shadowkeep, which is coincides, like, it's the 50th anniversary of the moon landing, America, Apollo 11. So, like, what better way to celebrate that than to go back to the damn moon?
And the damn moon in a video game. So I played Destiny 1 and 2. I didn't beat the campaigns, but played enough of it. The main thing I was impressed by was how absolutely stunningly beautiful they are. These games, you can tell they have really strong art direction behind them. I really haven't seen a game that is for design nerds as much as this game. Like, when I mean design nerd, I mean like graphic design. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I I was always curious because it seems like there is a very dedicated Destiny community. Has it turned into like a niche game for those players, do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't even call it a niche game. Like, it's like Destiny's all, even like as much as some people like to hate on it, the people that love it like love that game.
Yeah, they're
And
freaking dedicated.
yeah, like it's got a pretty active fan. Like, I have friends that play regularly together. I guess I've kind of joined that camp. I don't consider myself like a hardcore player in terms of like I don't log in every weekend to go talk to Zer to go buy crap. But like I played, like I said, I played all of that campaign. I played it in like a weekend and then played all the expansions and just like I got it. Like, I didn't get it with Destiny 1, I got it with Destiny 2.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, like I love that the world design, like the art direction for all the different planets, like how exotic and just beautiful everything in those games look, especially 2. Like, I think 2 has a even better art direction than 1 did. And yeah, I'm excited. Like, I'm genuinely excited to play this expansion, and I want to see like how Bungie handles Destiny, like now that they completely own it again. Like, they've already said that they're revamping like the Eververse store, which was the kind of the real money store. Like, they're totally overhauling that. Cross saves is coming. I don't remember if it's coming the same day as this expansion in the free-to-play version, or if it's a little bit later. It's supposed to be this year, but you know, now we'll be able to have cross saves, so you can play your character across multiple systems, which makes sense because it's free-to-play now. So I was like, oh man, like I'm probably gonna download that version on, because I have Destiny 2 on PS4. So I was like, oh, I would like to play it on my Xbox, like especially if I have friends that have it on Xbox. So that's cool. I can just upload my character.
Yo, Marcus, guess who has an Xbox?
You have an
and
Xbox.
Destiny 2.
Oh,
but
snap.
A very lame character, I'm sure.
It's okay.
Yeah,
my character's raw. I'll just carry
you. That's totally fair. I feel like it's definitely going towards the model of mobile games. Obviously with the free-to-play thing, but I feel like the community is acting like a dedicated mobile game community does, where it's all about adding on to these games. I mean, which is, I'm sure, console developers' dreams, is to be able to monetize like mobile gaming has. So it'll be interesting to see something like Destiny, the top tier AAA games, and see how they're able to execute on this, because I feel like since they are such a dedicated team and Bungie has wanted to have this property back in their own court for so long, I feel like they're going to do it right and not just focus on getting as much money as possible. I hope, like a lot of mobile games can do. So I think it's probably going to set a precedent for a lot of other games going forward.
Yeah, I think it'll work out. Like, I mean, Destiny 2 being free, I mean, that's a steal, you know, really. Because, again, like on its own, like, you know, the thing that they've never gotten wrong with this game is just the pure, like, moment-to-moment gameplay. Like, shooting feels great. Like, the idea of being able to have that whole game with everything that they've added, sans the expansions, but still, there's a lot without those expansions for free. Like, the player base could potentially just explode from there. And then, you know, that's more people to play with online. And then, you know, it's worked for Warframe. I think Warframe's a great example of a game that's completely free and just sells expansions. And that game, you know, kind of almost quietly over this generation rose to become one of the most popular free-to-play games out there. And I can't imagine them not looking at something like that and be like, well, Destiny fits that. Like, Destiny could totally fit that template, which it totally could. So, yeah, I'm excited to see where this new era of Destiny leads. So, this will be a big one for them. So, yep, Destiny 2 Shadowkeep, September 17th, and then 3 days later, a game I'm all sorts of just so excited for. That is the remake of The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening for Nintendo Switch, coming September 20th. I love me some Zelda.
This is the cutest art style I've ever seen in a remake ever.
It's pretty great.
Like they did such a good job. Just like, it's just really cute. And not like Pokemon was cute with the yellow remake with Let's Go. Like, that one was like solid. But this one, it seems like they put a lot of love into it. Not just like updating the graphics, but really giving it that cute 3D feel where it feels like something retro but completely new.
Yeah, what I love about it is that it's not even like they just settled to make a 3D remake. Like, it's not like they could have easily just done maybe like the style of A Link Between Worlds, for example, and just did that for Link's Awakening. But like, it intentionally looks more like a diorama.
And they literally made a diorama at E3, and it was so freaking cute.
Yeah, and I love that. And that's such a Nintendo thing of like, they've done this in other, not even just Zelda games, but other games in their roster of like, hey, we could make this, look nice, like traditional, I guess, graphics, and their games, always look good. But like, what if we just add a little twist, whether it be like, hey, Yoshi's Yarn now, or like one of my favorite ones that doesn't get brought up much is for Wii U, Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, where that had a claymation art style. And it looked awesome. And there's
oh my god, really? How did I miss out on that?
Yeah, I played that game. It's an okay game, but the art style just completely, it was like, like I said, they could have just done a regular 3D game, or they could have made it look like Canvas Curse for DS, which that game is kind of a spiritual sequel to. But no, they were like, hey, let's just let's just make it look like claymation, and then it looks awesome. So like, it's kind of the same thing, but like this of like, oh, we could do 3D Zelda, but what if we just went further with that? Like, what can we hone on specifically in terms of style? And then I don't know how they landed on diorama, but
it works.
Yeah, it does work. It looks super duper cool. And like, Link's Awakening has always been one of my favorite Zelda games. It's probably my favorite handheld Zelda next to A Link Between Worlds. And it's one of the, and that art style being as unique as it is kind of fits Link's Awakening, because it's always been one of the weirder Zelda games, like just tonally, and just the premise of like, if you've never played it, the idea is that Link gets shipwrecked on this island and has to collect these mystical musical instruments, and it's got a very dreamy feel to it, and you're running into all these weird enemies, and there's even like enemies from other Nintendo games, like there's Chain Chomps from Mario that you have to fight and stuff like that, and it's just it just feels a little bit off. Like, I've always, like, Link's Awakening and Majora's Mask are always the two I think of, like, when you want like the weirder Zeldas. So I am super pumped to, and it's on Switch too. Like, just like, I'm glad this wasn't just 3DS. Not that the 3DS is bad, but like, I want like a traditional Zelda game on Switch, and I was hoping this was my dream come true, because I felt like after Breath of the Wild, I was like, it'd be cool. Like, Breath of the Wild 2 will be great, but like, it would be cool if in between us they just gave us like a 2D style Zelda, like a smaller one, and that's what we're getting, and it happens to be one of the best ones they've ever made. So yeah, that's a day one for me.
I'm still stuck on this Kirby claymation thing. I need to get my hands on a Wii U now.
Yeah, just to get
so cute.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll ever
Kirby doesn't get enough love.
I think it gets a lot of love. I mean, you get like 19 of them every Nintendo console.
Okay, fine. Well, okay, enough like attention, mainstream attention, I guess, not just like money and releases. Yeah, and I know Kirby's like the star of Smash, but I don't know. I need more Kirby.
What was the last Kirby for Switch? Because we did get a Switch one. What was it? What was the name of it? It was a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
It was like it was like year one of the Switch, right? The Kirby game.
Oh yeah, I cannot remember the name of it though.
It was like it was almost like a sequel to the Wii U one, or not the Wii U one, the Wii one of the Wii ones, the one that wasn't Epic Yarn, the more traditional
Kirby Star Allies.
Yeah, I was like, I know I played the demo for it on Switch. So I think that was the last one. That's the most recent Kirby game, I believe.
I think so.
That's like 2017.
Just go into Marcus's comment section and yell at us if we're wrong.
Yes, do that for me, please. I mean, like, Kirby's one of those series, like, it's inevitable. We're gonna get another Kirby.
I want like a mainstream, like, I want a Kirby RPG. I'm not even kidding. I would love a Kirby RPG.
A Kirby G?
Yes. A G Kirby.
That's what it should be called, by the way, Kirby G. So there you go, HAL Laboratory. Get on it.
Kirby the G. There we go.
Have you played the Box Boy games? It's made by the same studio. Those games. I mean, they're very different. They're like more like puzzle platformers, but I don't know. They got a similar charm of those Kirby games. They just made one this year for Switch. They did 3 for 3DS. I only played the first one, but I thought the first one was great. And then they made a Switch one for I think it came out like in spring. So
okay.
If you want
how
some
do you have time for games, Marcus? What the hell?
I just jettison all other aspects of my life.
That's fine. I respect that.
It's give and take. It's give and take.
Games take it all.
Yes, exactly. Okay, let's see what we got next to wrap up September. On September 27th, we have the long-awaited Code Vein, which has been delayed at least twice now, maybe 3 times. It was supposed to come out last year, I feel like, at 2 different points. This is the Bandai Namco kind of Dark Souls-ish game with vampires and anime. And yeah, like, we have both played it at like E3. I think I've played it like at 2 E3s. I'm interested in it, one, as a fan of Dark Souls, and I'm always interested in seeing other people's take on that style, and I think it has a cool look to it. I'm just worried about it because it's been delayed so many times, which, there have been games that have been delayed multiple times that come out just fine. I think Uncharted 4 and Witcher 3 are great examples.
Duke Nukem.
Yes, and Duke Nukem, the shiny example. Yeah, just the beacon of quality. It's like Duke Nukem Forever, in case you're not clear. So like this one, I'm like cautiously optimistic about it. What do you think of what do you make of Code Vein?
Vampires, anime, and hack and slash gameplay. I mean, what more do you need?
I mean, I just need it to be good, really. That's all.
That's asking way too much.
Just don't suck.
But they're vampires, Marcus. They have to suck.
And you do. I think if I remember correctly, playing it, you do suck blood, but you don't bite their necks. I think you just like suck it out of their bodies directly. I know it's like a
what?
gameplay
Like
mechanic.
hickeys?
I think he like holds his hand out and just sucks the blood. He's like he's like Scarlet from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Okay.
Something like that. Yeah, like this is a like I checked this in the maybe box of like this has all the potential in the world to be great, but it's got some things working against it. So yeah, like we'll see. We'll see.
This one I might wait for like a few reviews to see.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at with it too. Like see what the word is on it. Especially because I will definitely still be probably playing Zelda when it comes out.
Yeah, exactly.
Alrighty, so this brings us into October, the Halloween month, and at least the 3 games that I have chosen for this, all are around Halloween. The first one, and this is a purely selfish me pick, and is that Medieval remake that was first announced like damn near 2 years ago now at PSX. Yes, PSX. The last PSX that we got, because we didn't get one last year. I don't know if you've ever played. Did you ever play the original Medieval, Naomi? Like on PS1?
I did not.
Okay.
I'd never heard of this before this list. I'm so sorry.
Okay. It's okay, because Medieval was never one of the like. It's never one of the games that always gets shouted out when you think of like classic PS1 games. Like it's not like Final Fantasy VII or Symphony of the Night or Metal Gear or anything like that. But it's like that B tier right below it. But I personally love that game. Like I had it as a kid. I played it multiple times, like completed it. And I don't know, I just always had a soft spot for that game. I always thought it was really cool and good. I never played the sequel or the PSP. I guess the PSP was the third game. But I just thought it was cool. Like the idea of the game is that you play as this skeleton guy who used to be a soldier. His name is Dan Fortescue, Sir Dan, and he gets brought back to life because he was murdered or he was killed in battle by they're fighting the sorcerer who they beat him in the battle, but he gets killed in it. But then the sorcerer comes back, so then some good forces bring back Sir Dan to slay the evil wizard once again. And it's got this really goofy sense of humor. Like Dan can't talk because he doesn't have his jaw anymore, so he's like, and then he just has like a little speech thing underneath, and somehow everyone knows what he's saying. He also doesn't have an eyeball because when he died, he got shot in the eye with an arrow, so he just has one eye. And yeah, it's just like a third-person action-adventure game. You're going around almost kind of Zelda-y to a degree. You're going to all these different places. You're hacking, slashing enemies. You're solving puzzles and like churches. And there's one really famous, or at least memorable level for me when you get shrunk and go into an anthill and you have to like explore an anthill and fight ants as a
skeleton.
as a tiny skeleton. Like it's got some really cool stuff that I'm super pumped to see kind of remade. And what they're doing is that they're not like upraising the graphics, like they're just pretty much, I think they're building it from the ground up using that game's original code. So it's the same exact game in terms of like the design and like all the puzzles and stuff, but it just looks like a 2019 game. I'm excited for it. I won't spend too much time on it, but I think I would love an excuse to replay that game again. And of course, coming around about a week or so before Halloween, so great timing on that. But yeah, I want that. I want some more medieval in my life. So
what is it launching on? Or what is it releasing on?
I think it's just a PS4 exclusive.
Okay.
I believe, yes. Yeah, because I think Sony Interactive Entertainment published the first game, so I believe that's like a strictly first-party Sony game.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And then that same day, though, which is going to make it tough, is The Outer Worlds, which is a huge game. This is by Obsidian Entertainment, who brought us such great games like Fallout 76 and Pillars of Eternity, among many others. And this is their Fallout in space, more or less.
Pretty much.
And I love Fallout New Vegas, and I miss Fallout. I mean, I liked Fallout 4. I didn't like it as much as 3, but I think 4 is fine. And this looks cool. It's hilarious how Fallout it is, down to like the Bethesda style like character interactions, like the zooming on their face and they talk to you, like it's like you guys had the excuse to do something completely different with that because it's not Fallout, but you guys kind of just did it anyway.
Yeah, I watched developer interviews with that. They seem fine with it. They're like, we just wanted to do something different. Like, okay.
Yeah. It's like everything else around it's different.
Yeah. Different skin. Okay.
Yeah, like it's got a cool like space because the idea of the game is that you're in this universe that's being bunch of major corporations are trying to colonize all these planets, and you're trying to I can't remember, I think you work with them, like you're going around to planets kind of seeing if they're like resources or whatever are worth taking or investing in or whatever it is. But it's got this cool like almost kind of like a vaguely BioShocky look of like everything kind of has an old-timey aesthetic, like the signage and the advertisements and just the aesthetic has like an early 20th century look to it, despite it being futuristic space stuff. I think it's a cool looking look, but what's great about it, at least for me as an Xbox owner, is that it's coming to Game Pass day one, which I was very shocked to hear when they announced it.
Is?
It's launching game day one, so if you have Game Pass, you'll just get it.
Excellent. Which, side note, Game Pass is amazing.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Such a good deal. Like, it's kind of a steal. I wouldn't be surprised if they up the price on it. Not that I want that to happen, but it's such a good deal.
Yeah, like as someone that's been subscribed to Game Pass from almost day one, like that, even back then when it wasn't great, like the library was like okay, but to kind of have watched it explode into what it is now has been a lot of fun, and I've played so many games because of Game Pass. And then we're getting Gears 5 and Outer Worlds from it because all the first party Microsoft stuff comes to Game Pass. But then something like Outer Worlds, which is coming to every other console, like it's not a first party game, even though Obsidian is a first party Microsoft studio now, but because Outer Worlds was in development before Microsoft bought them, that's still going to come to everything, including, this is some breaking news from yesterday, they announced that it's coming to Switch.
Oh. Snap? Okay.
Yeah, it won't be the same day as the other versions, but it is happening, a Switch version of that game, which I was like, all right, like, I don't know if I'll ever play it because I'm gonna get the game for quote unquote free. But I would like to see how that game runs on Switch. That seems like a really cool thing. If it runs as well as like Skyrim does on Switch, then they'll be fine. But
yeah, exactly. Like, it's not going to be as pretty, of course, but it's still going to run okay. But yeah, that's the one thing about the Switch that's freaking genius of Nintendo. Like, there's plenty of games I already have, like, on other consoles, but I need it on my Switch. And I hate it, but I love it because I get to play handheld. There's so many games that I have 2 copies of across different platforms. And that's not something I did with, like, my PlayStation. At least not very often. I didn't buy this game on Xbox and then PlayStation. But there's just something special about the Switch.
Yeah, like, I'm the same way. Like, there are games that I will purposely wait to come for a Switch version. Like, we were talking just before we started recording that Dragon Quest Builders is one that I was like, I think I'll wait for the Switch version. And actually, Diablo 3 is one that I used to have it for PS4 but never played it. It was just sat in my backlog, and then I just traded it back in. And then when they announced it was coming to Switch, I was like, I will just wait for that one. That seems like the perfect game for Switch, and it is. Like, that game is a phenomenal Switch game, and I've already put like damn near 50 hours into that game. So yeah, I definitely see the appeal of Switch. Electronic Arts maybe less so. There's a little a little nod to a recent news story. You can look that up on your own. But yeah, I think that's really cool, and I think Outer Worlds it looks really fun. Like, I'm in the mood for that kind of game right now. Like, that kind of Bethesda-y RPG. Though I like the understanding I get is that it won't be as big as a Bethesda game. Like, it's not going to be like a 100-hour thing, or maybe even like a 50-hour thing at most, which I'm actually okay with. I don't, and it doesn't need to be like a gazillion hours. Like, I think I'm cool with like a maybe 20 to 40 hour one of those, I guess.
Yeah, one of those.
Or with more. Actually, I will say, I don't want to discredit Outer Worlds by just calling it like a Fallout-ish, because I think it has a really cool system with the what do they call it? The penalty thing, the flaw system, where like your character, as he learns or she learns different skills, you also gain a flaw that you have to pick. So like, if you get like, I don't know, I'm making this up, but like, hey, I get the ability to shoot better, but then I also have this flaw where like I'm worse at conversations. It's like a balancing act
system.
Yeah, like it's meant to make your character, I guess, more, I guess, balanced, but also more of like a person, I guess, and not just like this invincible jack of all trades. Like, oh, I can do anything. I think that's a cool idea, and I'm curious to see how that actually works in practice. So,
yeah,
Outer Worlds got some innovative stuff going on there.
Yeah, and plus it still looks really solid. Like, calling it like a Fallout game, that's not like a knock. That's a pretty high bar. It's just we're pointing it out because the people from that studio just kind of kept on doing what they were doing, and
you can make a class.
All right.
You can make your person stupid. You can actually make your person like stupid, and then unlock. Yeah, literally, I think it's a class like, or a personality trait, like, oh, your character's an idiot, and then all of your responses will be like, you have an idiot option, so you can respond to anything in the game like just a moron.
A lot of people are gonna play that way.
I was like, I think I might have to do an entire playthrough as like moron and see where what ending I get with that.
You saved the world. Good job.
Yeah, maybe I'll find that on Switch. That'll be what I do. So, yeah, it's all right. So yeah, Outer Worlds, not to be confused with Outer Wilds, which came out earlier this year and is also a really good game.
Which I've totally been confusing. Totally, absolutely have been.
Everyone has been. I still catch myself calling one of them the other one.
Yep.
Speaking of Switch games that we probably want to play, the last one coming on Halloween is Mario. That's the official theme song of Hollywood. I didn't know what you were saying at first, and then I realized, like, what's she singing?
I'm just singing. Don't worry about it.
No problem. It's Luigi's Mansion 3, the third Luigi's Mansion game.
Which I have to admit, I haven't played a Luigi's Mansion yet, and it hurts.
I've never played them either. Or actually, that's not true. I played a bit of the first one way back in the day, like GameCube era. But I never owned a GameCube, so I never, really played much more than like a bit at friends' houses. No.
Yeah, how mean are GameCube exclusives? Come on.
I think the one that hurt me the most back in the day was Wind Waker.
Yes.
Like that was the one that I just like, even more so than like Mario Sunshine and Metroid Prime. Like something about Wind Waker, like hearing how, like, one, because I loved that way that game looked, and I kept hearing that it was like this masterpiece, and I was like, I would give like a kidney to get a GameCube to play that game. But it's okay because I've since gone back and played it, and yeah, the game's phenomenal. And hopefully Luigi's Mansion 3 is good. It is not much to say plot wise. It's the same thing. Luigi's in a
he's in a hotel this time.
Oh, that's true. I'm sorry.
So it is different. It's a haunted hotel.
It's The Shining, but
yes.
with Luigi. Basically, he's going around. He's slowly becoming insane. He's gonna go into like one level takes place in like a big bar, and he's gonna talk to a phantom bartender. There should be
and then he's gonna go try to murder his family.
Yeah, he's gonna try to murder Mario. He's gonna be trying to write his book and just getting increasingly more agitated and erratic. There should be a level where you go into one of the hotel rooms and it's like a creepy naked old lady in there.
Oh God! Or the bear scene. Yeah, that one too.
Yes, I want that. I want Stanley Kubrick's Luigi's Mansion 3.
That would be so freaking great.
You need to resurrect him like Sir Daniel Fortescue to come back and add his touch to this game.
It's true horror capitalism where you don't really get to die. You have to come back and continually make stuff for our capitalistic system forever. Sounds like Stanley Kubrick's dream.
Finally. Yes, that's exactly what he's wanted. I read that in his memoirs.
I love capitalism. Quote from Stanley Kubrick.
But yeah, this looks fun. I mean, those games always strike me as fun. I never played the DS one either, the sequel, Dark Moon. I want to play both of those games, especially now that they're both on the same platform, that being the 3DS. I don't know if I'm going to do that before this comes out. Probably not, but
yeah, especially since it was full price. Like I would have got
Luigi, at least the first
two
game.
Games if they were just like a little bit cheaper.
Yeah,
I was not sold on that $60 price point.
Yeah, or at least like Dark Moon's cheap now because it was like it's like part of that Nintendo Selects, so it's like $20 like permanently now. So like
okay, yeah, that's way better price.
Yeah, but like the first game I think is still $40, which I was like, I mean, I get that $40 is the standard full price for like a 3DS game, but I was like, it's still a GameCube game. Like, can't maybe like $30, exactly. But then at the same time, it's a first party game, so like it's that Nintendo tax. So I don't know.
Isn't it so true?
Maybe one day it'll join the Nintendo Selects line and be $20, so you can get both of them for the price of a new game. We'll see, but yeah. 3 looks good. It had an absurd line at E3. That's the one thing I remember about this game, was that it had like a 4 to 5 hour line, which I was shocked that, not hating on Luigi's Mansion, but I was shocked that people wanted to wait 4 hours to play Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, it was the same amount of time as Link's Awakening and Pokemon. And I mean, I would just chalk that up to E3 not really having much for Game Pass holders. Or not Game Pass. Wow, okay. That's not the word I wanted. The public E3 pass, whatever that was called.
Yeah, like that's what I counted. I had the same thought, was like this E3 being kind of light in terms of stuff that was playable on the show floor, was like, since there's less to play, that means what is there has longer lines.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what I was like, maybe that's why, because like especially in that in the South Hall, where like Nintendo was more or less by themselves, like the only other major publisher was Sega. So
yeah,
it's like, if you weren't interested in that, then Nintendo was kind of your only thing, assuming you got there early enough. So yeah, but this game will probably be good. It's Nintendo, it'll be fine.
I'll play it, maybe.
I'll play it eventually.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually.
And that brings up to my favorite month, November. I only say that because it's my birthday month. And I know, right? And the day before my birthday is one of the, if not perhaps the biggest game of this fall. And that is Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding coming November 8th. And yeah, I mean, what more can you say about this game?
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, so the fact that we're even getting this game this year is really bizarre. This was kind of one of those games where we were okay with not seeing it for a while, because Hideo Kojima is a crazy genius, and go ahead and make what you want. So it's kind of amazing that it's coming out this year in November. But I don't know. You've watched the latest trailer where they actually have like story reveal, right?
There's the one where they went through the cast and we got our first introduction to Die Hard Man.
Yes.
And then the guy with the,
and we got the plot points and how it's going to be like all government conspiracy and all, which I mean, total surprise from Hideo Kojima. He's never political.
You got to connect the nation.
Sarcasm.
You're on a journey to connect the nation back together with the weird spider map. You're the president of jack shit. Okay.
So, yeah, this game looks absolutely bonkers. It reminds me of the scene in Metal Gear 5 where you just see the giant flaming unicorn go into the sky, and then there's a whale, and then it just that's the kind of insanity I'm expecting.
Yeah, like I fit. Like, Metal Gear games, I think, are some of the best, like, openers of any video game of terms of being like, well, I'm on board for whatever the hell this is. Like,
yeah, for real.
Like, going back to Metal Gear Solid, like, what got me with that as a kid was like, this is so cinematic. This is like a movie. I've never seen anything like this. I'm going to keep playing. And then, 2, walking on the bridge, jumping off of it in the rain, and then the electric suit on the boat, and then 3 with the skydiving thing. And then, of course, Phantom Pain, the whole hospital sequence.
Which, okay, conspiracy, but they totally blurred out the booty in that. And I totally remember booty, but it might be the Mandela effect from me.
In Death Stranding?
Okay. For a little bit more context.
In Death Stranding?
So in the beginning of the game, after you become a version of Snake and you're trying to escape the hospital and you're crawling along behind this mysterious figure, and he's in a hospital gown, you can totally see his ass. But I played it again, oh my gosh, like within a year, and his butt is all blurred out.
You know what it was?
Do you remember booty from that game?
I think so, probably. But you know what I think it is? It's because, after Kojima had his falling out and left, they wanted to erase all trace of him, and that booty was attributed to Kojima. Like, that was very much his touch. Like, he and like that's one of
it is.
That's one of the things that him and Konami went back and forth about. Was like, Konami's like, we can't have any butts. Kojima was like, no, this is my art. I need butts. And then eventually they relented and gave him the butt. But now that he's gone, they're like, you know what? They already took his name.
We're gonna be petty.
Yeah, we already took his name off the box. So. We don't want his butt in here either.
Sounds like a ridiculous conversation, but like there's probably some grain of truth in that.
I was like, hey, we canceled this Silent Hills game that you guys all wanted because he's gone, even though we could still just do it without him. But whatever. I'm not gonna get butthurt about Silent Hill. Butthurt.
Butthurt.
I guess they were really butthurt. So yeah, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say somewhere in that butt was a hidden signature that said a Hideo Kojima game, and they're like, nope, get that out.
Written and directed and created by Hideo Kojima. I still want to make a really sassy shirt that just says written and directed by Hideo Kojima, and that's it. That's all it says.
I'm surprised it doesn't exist. You sure you haven't checked the Kojima store? The Kojima Productions store to see if that exists?
That'd be so great if he just owned it and just did that himself.
It seems like he would do that.
In case you forgot, this was written and directed by Hideo Kojima.
Like, especially around that time, just to stick it to Konami. Like, oh, y'all don't want to put my credit? All right. Well, what do you think of this?
Uh-huh.
But this game, I mean, no matter what, this is one of those few games where I just have to play it. Like, I don't care if it's good, bad, or in between. I need to play this myself. Like, I need to see what this is. And there's very few games that do that for me. Like, I don't care about reviews or anything. Like, I need to touch it. Yeah, like I need to see what Kojima Unchained is. Because now he's not.
Okay, screw Kojima Productions. Kojima Unchained is now the name of his studio.
Because this is his first not Metal Gear game in what, since Snatcher. So like without like Metal Gear's insane, but he still has to adhere to like Metal Gear. And like, so for him to finally get away from that series and to be like, I'm gonna make a whole new thing from scratch with a new publisher that's letting me more or less do whatever I want. At least it feels like, because who the hell just Die Hard, man. And, like, I want to just like Kojima without an editor. Or maybe less of an editor, I don't know. Like, I need to wrap myself around all of that.
Yes, exactly.
So,
and like, have you seen like the stills they've done of like captures in the game? Like, it looks freaking amazing. It looks like that one test they did of, oh gosh, I'm not gonna remember the tech, but it's some of the most recent game engine tech where they just like show off the rocks, but they look like real.
Yeah.
That's kind of the level I was seeing from this game, and that's why I think a lot of people were like, okay, this isn't going to come out till the PS5.
Yeah, that was the biggest shock.
Instead, yeah, exactly. Like, it definitely looked like a tech pusher.
Yeah, at the very least, I thought it'd be a cross-gen game.
Mm-hmm. But nope, it's coming out November 8th.
November 8th, and yeah, by, like, I'm realizing, like, by the end of this year, we'll be in a post-Death Stranding world where we have all played it.
Oh,
and, like,
no.
our minds aren't the same.
That's so weird, Marcus. No.
Yeah, right? Because this game seemed like a gazillion years away. And it's like,
it's
no,
such
like...
an abstract concept.
By the time November ends, we will all have had Death Stranding. Like, we will know everything that game is. And, like... I don't know. Oh my god, like that's
terrifying.
It's exciting and terrifying. Like we're gonna be changed people.
Like,
we're not gonna be the same after November 8th.
Like a don't meet your heroes kind of thing almost. So it sounds scary.
Yeah.
Like, who are we gonna be after meeting this game?
God, we're gonna be connected. That's what we'll be. So, oh god. So yeah, Death Stranding, November 8th. Hold on to your butts.
Yeah, we can just skip this next game. I mean, no one really cares about this next game on the list, right?
Yeah, it's just some weird, obscure little indie game coming 11/15 called, like, Pokemon or something. I think that's what y'all kids call it, the Pokemans. Y'all not supposed to bring that to school, last I checked. Like,
it's Pikachu's Sword and Shield.
It's the game version of that movie that came out earlier this year with Justice Smith. This is, like, the video game adaptation, right?
Yeah. Yep, you got it.
Yeah.
And enough said.
There we go. All right, moving on. No, just kidding. Yeah, Pokemon, Sword and Shield.
Pokemon!
The next mainline entry in the series and the first traditional mainline Pokemon RPG to be on a home console, quote unquote, even though it's still like half a handheld, which is kind of hilarious that's what it takes, is that it's still technically on a handheld, but still, it's a home console.
Very Nintendo.
And this game has been... So you are the Pokemon fan, Naomi. You are the Pokemon diehard. I am the casual Pokemon fan, where I haven't played an actual Pokemon game since Pokemon Platinum, and I didn't play anything before. Like, I grew up with Red, Blue, and Yellow. That's when I was obsessed with the series when it first came to the States, and watched the anime and just did everything you could with Pokemon, collected the cards. And then when the second gen came, I played some of Pokemon Gold, then got my Game Boy Advance stolen, and then stopped watching the show, didn't play any more games, and the only game I played since Yellow was Platinum on a whim, just because I was curious about where the series had gone, and I played all of that on the original DS, and then didn't play anything since then. So I've played 4 games total. So, but even still, I always have an affinity for Pokemon. And I did play Pokemon Go, I should probably mention that. So I played Pokemon Go, but I don't play that anymore. I stopped playing it probably like a year or two ago. I've always had an affinity for Pokemon just because I still like the series, and I've always wanted a reason to get back into it. Like, every new game, I'm like, I think this will be the one. Mm-hmm. And then I never do it. It's never the one. And like, but I think this one will be the one that I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to...
Did you play Let's Go?
No, I do want to play Let's Go. I just haven't picked it up, and mainly because it's that generation that I'm most nostalgic for, and I have like a personal attachment to. So like, because that game is basically like a remake of Yellow. More or less.
Definitely is.
So like, for me, that sounds like awesome for like a fan like me.
It's been described as Pokemon comfort food, and it totally is. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I only played it that time you and I played it at E3 last year. That's the only time I've touched it. But even then, like, your description was like the comfort food. It felt like I felt totally like it felt familiar. Of like, oh yeah, like this. I know these Pokemon, and I remember all these towns like Viridian Forest. Yeah, I remember that. And like it just felt like really chill. It's like, you know, like I could see myself just chilling out, laying in bed with this. Yeah, and Sword and Shield's like the opposite of that. Of like, hey, this is the big new thing. Come look at our giant Pokemon. And this game has been a source of excitement and as well as controversy.
Okay, so you're never ever going to please the Pokemon crowd.
No.
At least all of them, because
don't even try.
It is a huge community that consists of many different factions. Wow, we sound like a little like crazy army, don't we? But definitely, there's fans like Marcus who have will always have a spot in their heart for Pokemon, but maybe haven't been following it the whole time, and that's fine. There are Pokemon fans who would be like, "Oh, you're not a real Pokemon fan," blah 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 blah. So it's just one of those fandoms where they're never going to be satisfied. So the thing that one of the big controversies was that we weren't going to see all 800 Pokemon in this game, which when I say it out loud sounds really ridiculous, right? 800 sprites. It even it spawned this really fantastic Twitter trend, which was like Pokemon in 5 minutes, where like legit like game designers and random people too were just trying to design Pokemon in 5 minutes. Like their full renders, because someone went on a rant on Twitter and was like, how long does it take to add a Pokemon to a game? Like 5 minutes? So these people went and did it. It's really great. I seriously recommend looking it up because, oh my god, you cannot render a Pokemon in 5 minutes.
You can't do anything in game development in 5 minutes. As someone that has actually gone to school for game design and has made a game, I love people that are very presumptuous about game design that don't actually know what goes into it.
It's just 5 minutes. Just do it 800
You can't
times.
animate a character in 5 minutes?
Yeah, and okay, think about that math. 800 times 5, that's still a whole lot of minutes, people. Anyway, so everyone was mad about that. The other, kind of more nerdy controversy is that, oh gosh, I can't even remember what it's called because I'm really not excited about it, but the giant Pokemon thing.
Dynamax?
Yes, Dynamax. That is canon in this game, and for some reason it cancels out Mega Evolutions. And if I were to choose between Mega Evolutions and Giant Pokemon, it's definitely gonna be Mega Evolutions, because not only do you evolve your Pokemon into the stronger form, but they take on different typings. They take on new movesets. They look cooler. Sometimes some of the
I remember that
Mega Evolutions do not look great.
That Black Charizard looked pretty cool.
Right, it's badass. And Charizard finally gets to be a dragon in that form. So, I mean, I'm not the type of person who's just gonna be angry about it. But I'm not excited about it. But I still have faith, and I want to see how it plays out. Because they did implement it with a raid system, which totally makes sense with the Switch. They're trying to make it more, wow, what is the word? Multiplayer. Wow. Multiplayer based, where you have these big raids and you go and take on giant Pokemon, and that just kind of makes sense. But at the same time, I'm like, meh. And there's a lot of things that this Pokemon game that we wanted from it as fans. I think we all really just wanted Breath of the Wild style remake, but with Pokemon, where we could just be in an RPG, complete open world style game. This seems like kind of a half step, but I'll still take it because it's Pokemon. And that's what we do as Pokemon fans.
I will say that the thing that disappointed me most is that from what I saw in the trailers, it's back to random encounters, which I was like, let's go. You could see all the Pokemon. And I was like, so I assumed that would just be it going forward. Because it's like, why would you do that in one game and then the next game not keep doing that? Especially the newer game, which is supposed to be like Let's Go is more or less to me like a glorified holdover to this of like, hey, we're still working on the new thing, so in the meantime, here's this like more or less remake of this old game, but with like new bells and whistles, and like, hey, you can see look at the Ekans in the grass, you see it, you can, and I remember playing like, oh, that's awesome, like, because one, it makes the world feel like actually alive, and also if I don't want to fight something, because like, random encounters have not entirely gone away, but it's been going more and more towards the way of the dodo, so to speak, because it's not really fun.
It's very grindy.
Yeah, and also especially when you're just like, I just want to get from point A to point B. I don't want to fight anything. I don't need to fight anything right now, but you're forcing me to get into conflict. So like the idea of Pokemon, like, oh my god, I could run through Viridian Forest and just like sidestep everything and just get there. That's great. And when I was watching, like, I think it was like the reveal video for Sword and Shield, I was like, wait, they're going back to that? Like, why? Like, why? Like, do they think fans want that? Like, especially like you've already done the other thing, like you've already got precedent for it. Why would you go backwards? I don't understand.
I would like to see like a system where you can choose between the two, right? Because there's definitely I mentioned the grind. There's that. It's not necessarily nostalgia, but as a Pokemon fan, like, we're just used to that mechanic, and it doesn't matter like what Pokemon we're running into when we're grinding and trying to level like our characters up. So I can see the appeal to it. It'd be cool to like see a choice between those two. Like maybe like some games have done, you can switch between the old pixel version and the new version, like something like that.
Like a mode of like, hey, you want like classic mode, like,
yeah, classic mode
like
versus new mode,
I guess.
whatever.
Like, or you want the hardcore, like, or not even hardcore, but like the classic Pokemon style, like, hey, random encounters, go for it. But yeah, that would be nice, if nothing else. Like, anything that at least has the ability to see the monsters. Because, like, again, like you said, like, how cool it would be if this was, like, true open world, like Breath of the Wild. Like, if you could just, like, look on the horizon and see, like, a legendary Pokemon, like, flying across the sky, and you, like, didn't know where it came from or, like, how to chase it, but you could catch it.
Yeah.
You just have to figure out how to... It's kind of like seeing the dragons in Breath of the Wild. The first time you see those, you're like, holy crap, like, where did that come from? How do I get to it? Like, look at that thing. Like...
That beautiful, amazing creature. Yes, exactly. It brings back the wonder. Like, the grinding style totally just makes it a game. Like, and it was built out of necessity. So...
That's why you can't climb things in Pokemon. Or if you could climb a mountain, but like, oh, I see that Pokemon on the mountain. Like, I know rock Pokemon live on these mountains. I'm going to climb up there.
Right. And it's funny, but the closest thing I've found to that, like, true RPG experience is freaking Pixelmon, which is a mod of Minecraft. But you can wander around these worlds as Minecraft, like survival, and find Pokemon in different areas. And that's freaking amazing. Like, and someone just modded that into Minecraft. So it's totally possible. I think Nintendo just has that little extraness where they'd rather do a half step than do that full jumping into, something new. I think it's coming. I just think it's going to come when other games are stepping it up too, if that makes sense.
I guess. Maybe a bit of it's like they're afraid or too afraid of being too different from what, like, diverging too much from the established formula. Like, it's like, I mean, people are already going up in arms about, like, what? Not all the Pokemon are here? So maybe that's, like, if anything, that might reinforce of, like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do too many different things. Like, hey, what if we did do, like, straight up Breath of the Wild, but just with Pokemon, with people, like, like, fans freak out. Those like, that's not the Pokemon that I know. I want the classic games. Because, like, I want the...
Well, then go play the classic games. Gosh, you already do. Over and over and over.
Yeah, it's like, I want the same thing, but on a Switch. And you're like, okay, sorry. Like, I guess, especially being one of the biggest franchises on Earth, it's like, you're more likely to play it safe, I guess, than do... Does it have a... Is the catching style, like, does it go back to, like, normal catching style, or is it, like, Let's Go, where it's, like, Pokemon Go?
I'm not
like,
sure.
where you throw the Pokeball.
I think it's the regular catching style, though. I'm not 100%, though. Yeah, I was kind of surprised not to see more, like, Pokemon Go incorporation into it. I'm sure it'll come.
Is Melton in it? Did Melton make the cut?
Well, he better be. He's 8th generation, and this is the 8th generation game.
Okay, so he didn't get... He's not part of, what's the stupid thing, Dexit, that people are calling it?
The Pokedex?
Oh, that's the term that people have dubbed this whole controversy of the Pokedex.
Oh my god, Dex.
Oh, you didn't hear that? I'm surprised you didn't hear that.
No.
Yeah, that's...
I didn't see the hashtag.
Oh, yeah, that's what I picked up on Twitter.
That's
like,
hilarious.
that's what people are calling it, as Dexit.
People are little babies. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yes, because this is equivalent to the, like, potential collapse of an economic system.
Yeah, like, all the Pokemon won't be in this game. That's the same, comparable. Oh, God. So, yeah. But regardless of all of our criticisms, I mean, this will probably be a good game. Those games are always fine.
Oh, yeah.
So,
But that's the thing, is they're always fine. I want more from Pokemon,
especially the first big console, like the console debut of a mainline entry. Yeah,
I mean, a good analogy, kind of, I guess, that really ties in is like the Pokemon series, the anime. Like, we've seen really awesome, like, little spin-offs that are officially Pokemon, like Pokemon Origins. It just goes into the backstory, or not the backstory, but the story behind the games, and it's so much more adult. You know, it pays more respect to, like, some of these, like, actually really, like, brutal and human storylines, instead of just these cheesy adventures with really annoying kid protagonists, which I will admit they've done a better job at Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon is actually, like, palatable, but if you go back to some of the older shows, they are just awful. They are, like, really just safe and very TV and kid friendly, and I feel like that's where Nintendo is kind of stuck. You know, it's such a big franchise that, like you said, they don't want to risk it, and that's really frustrating because there are so many amazing themes to explore in these games that we just don't get to. We only get to see the surface level because they want to keep their entire audience base.
Yeah.
So it's really a balancing act for them.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see if, like, again, them playing it safe but still catching flack, if that's got them shook a bit.
I feel like they're always going to get flack no matter what they do.
Yeah.
So
fan base is crazy, like you said. Y'all crazy. Y'all Pokemon fans are crazy.
They are. Let me just be happy catching my little monster friends.
Yeah. Also, final question. Who's going to be your starter?
Oh, God. Don't ask me that. I'm not set. We have not seen the next stages in their evolutions, and that's really what's going to sell me. I don't really like any of them, and I feel like that's going to come back to bite me in the ass later on, so I'm going to, like, fall in love with, like, Score Bunny or something. But
yes,
right now,
Score Bunny,
just
the best
all
one.
Kind of meh.
That's mine.
Nah,
Score Bunny.
nah.
I think Score.
That's the one you want. You want the fire one?
I respect the other two, but I was surprised to see, like, Grookey in particular have this giant following, like the Grookey gang.
Grookey gang.
And then, like, nobody has anything for Score Bunny, and to me, I'm like, he looks like the coolest one to me.
Score Bunny is the obvious choice, so everyone's just, like, pretending not to like Score Bunny as much, but yeah, the fire type's always going to be, like, the most popular. That's just how it always is.
He looks the cutest. He did, like, a fist bump in the one trailer with the trainer, and I was like, oh, he's got some personality, he's got charisma.
But Sobble's sad.
And
as millennials, that's appealing.
Well, maybe he'll be popular since half of these fans seem sad about
yeah.
they need someone to, they seem sad about everything. But they're going to buy the game anyway, so.
Yep, that's the life of a Pokemon fan, is we still buy it, no matter what.
I'm not mad.
We just want more.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Like, really side note here, but I'm really excited for the Digimon resurgence that's kind of, like, slowly creeping its way to the forefront.
Yeah, they got a new game coming this year too, right? That is this year, right? The Cyber Sleuth thing.
I don't know if it's this year, but it's coming out, and I'm really excited because Bandai Namco is in charge of it, and they do such a good job with these adaptations. I think they just own it outright. I can't remember anymore. But anyway, that's a game and a franchise where I feel like they can push the envelope a little bit more, and do those more quote unquote adult things. So I want more of that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And believe it or not, there's actually another game that dares to release the same day as a Pokemon game. But it's probably one of the few franchises that can go toe-to-toe with Pokemon.
They also got some crazy nerds.
Yep, and that would be Star Wars. Specifically, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, coming the same day, November 15th, by Respawn Entertainment, the folks that gave us Apex Legends and the Titanfall games. This is their first stab at not only a Star Wars property or a licensed property in general, but also a third-person action game, because, you know, all their stuff has been first-person shooter. And, yeah, this game looks cool. Like, I know early on at E3, when they showed the first gameplay demo, people were a little down on it, saying it looked pretty predictable and unsurprising, and they even admitted that demo was not indicative of what that game is really doing, and then they had to come out later and be like, no, this is what the game is, because I think they more or less just showed the demo that they showed to journalists, which was more, and that really went into what made this game tick, where, like, so, like, you know, the idea of the game is that it's set almost immediately after Revenge of the Sith, so, like, Order 66 gets carried out, a vast majority of the Jedi are eradicated, but you play as a Padawan named Cal Kestis, who's played by, I don't remember the actor's name, but he's like an actor in Shameless and I believe Gotham as well, but apparently...
Yeah, he's that ginger guy who plays Joker.
Okay, I have not watched either show, but apparently from what I understand, he's a good actor. People seem pretty high on him.
Oh yeah. I've watched Shameless and he's really solid in that, and which is interesting because he started out as what you'd call like a kid actor and kind of grew into the role. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, he seems like a solid pick. Like if you were to tell me that guy was in like a Star Wars game, I'd be like, okay, interesting. But the way they've used him, it's I don't know, I've dug it.
Yeah. And yeah, he plays a Padawan who manages to escape the grisly fate of his Jedi masters, I guess. And I like the story. It's a very different kind of Star Wars story in terms of like you're on the run, basically. Like he has to keep a low profile. He like works in like a junkyard or whatever, just keeping his head down. Nobody knows he's a Jedi. But then one day, he is discovered because somebody he's working with gets into trouble. Like I think he like falls out of a thing, but he's forced to use his force powers. To you got it. To use it to save this guy, which of course raises all the red flags for like the Empire. And you're spending the game running I'm sure it evolves from there. Like, eventually he meets a Jedi that did survive who kind of becomes that Jedi's apprentice, which is, I would imagine, is where you get your lightsaber and probably learn new abilities from. But I like the idea of it being that kind of story of like, hey, this isn't the Star Wars of like, hey, you're going to lead a resistance. You're not part of this ragtag group of like, we're going to take down the Empire. It's more like, no, we're just trying to live. Like, we have to survive. We're not like, okay, we're going to go after Darth Vader. We're going to go after the Emperor. I think I like the idea of it, like, maybe not having a clear end game or goal. I mean, I feel like the story will evolve to have some sort of, like, plot, like, carrot outside of just
you just tripped on Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Now I gotta
fight
him.
Like you turn a corner and Darth Vader's there. Like if Darth Vader does not show up in this game in some capacity, I would be shocked because he doesn't need to at all. But I feel like, in spite of what Respawn may want, I feel like EA or like Lucasfilm or Disney, like at least with the films, those films sometimes feel like they have a need to like you have to shoehorn familiar Star Wars elements because they don't think people will know it's Star Wars. I think Han or rather Solo the movie is a great example of like we got to have a lightsaber in this somewhere, and if you've seen the movie you know what scene I'm talking about. And it's like, well, it's not Star Wars if there's no lightsaber at some point.
Talk about heavy pressure from freaking Disney, EA, like that.
Yeah,
that's gotta be fun for them.
So like if Respawn was like, hey, we don't want the Emperor or Darth Vader they're not going to show up here because why would they? But then they're like, well, you gotta, like, there's gotta be Vader. Like, it's Star Wars. It's like, well, this story doesn't really call for it. Like, you can do it without those guys. Like, nope. So, like, is there a point where Cal has to fight Vader, or at least he encounters him in some form? I'm gonna say probably yeah. But looking at the game, it's got, like, like the moment stuff is very reminiscent of Force Unleashed, which was, when you think about it, it's kind of sad. Like that was actually the last like single player Star Wars game that we got before this was Force Unleashed 2 back in like 2010, I think, when that game came out. 2011 maybe. And then everything since then has been like Battlefront or just nothing. You know, there was Old Republic, of course. So it kind of has a similar thing of like, you know, you're running on walls, you're doing all these kind of crazy third person combos, you're using your force powers to throw people around and, you know, pull stuff and, you know, Jedi things. But the more interesting things is the stuff that they didn't show that they had to come back and explain to people was the exploration, where you're actually traveling, I believe, through on a galactic map, and you're going from planet to planet, because the initial demo, everyone assumed it was a very linear game, kind of like an Uncharted, which, you know, wouldn't be bad. You know, Uncharted's good, but like everyone's like, oh, is that it? Is it just a linear game? And then they're like, no. Like there is like a map, like you're traveling to all these different worlds and stuff like that. And yeah, I think you get like a ship too that you can dink around with. I don't remember. Oh, that's thunder if you can hear that. Yeah, so that looks good. And again, Respawn is an amazing studio. I think, yeah, like this is one I'm looking forward to, just because it's been so long since we've gotten a non-multiplayer Star Wars game like with an original story. I think it has potential as a story, like just as a Star Wars tale. It could go some pretty interesting places if they're allowed to do it. If Disney will let them, basically.
Yeah, it could have the same restraints, or not the same restraints, but similar restraints that Pokemon has, where they have to do those big name things. But I don't know, from the trailers and stuff, it doesn't seem like they're at least heavily relying on it.
Yeah, we'll see. And, you know, thankfully this has been the only single player Star Wars game to survive to launch, because everything just kept getting canceled, from like 1313 to Amy Hennig's thing to the visceral thing that replaced Amy Hennig's thing. So just like this feels like watching baby sea turtles trying to get to sea and getting picked off by seagulls. No. Like this is the one sea turtle that managed to dodge all the seagulls.
No, that's such a good analogy.
The seagulls all wearing like Disney EA suits. So this one's gonna make it to the ocean. So
now I'm just picturing that. Oh, it's great.
Somebody should just make a GIF of that.
Yeah.
Just put like EA over all the seagulls' faces. So, you know, and also because, you know, there was the criticism or like the uproar when I think it was when Amy Hennig's game got canceled, and there was the fear that like single player games are going away, they're dying, because of like the little quote that Patrick Sutherland, the EA CEO or whatever he is, EA top wig, kind of put out, saying like, oh, you know, we want to try to maximize our games where you don't just beat them and take them back to GameStop. You know, you want you to hold on to them, which would, you know, generally mean like a live game or something with microtransactions or whatever. And people that are, you know, that were up in arms saying like, oh, EA is gonna ruin games or whatever, like, here's your chance kind of to prove them wrong. Like, if you care about that conversation, then this game kind of has to do well, you know, like sales wise, at least, to like, if you want them to make more single player story focused games, then, because at the end of the day, it's, you know, video games are a business and they always have been, no matter what company it is, but EA especially is very money driven. And
no way.
Yeah, like they've always, you know, and I don't want to say like as a blanket like that's all they care about, but they've always
they have a reputation for that.
They very much so, more than any other studio, being more about numbers than like art necessarily.
They're kind of the video game studio bad guy right now, at least.
Yeah, or like the last 10 years.
Yeah,
at the very least.
That's kind of been their ethos for a while.
So yeah, like, so this is kind of the put up or shut up moment of like, hey, we finally got one of these out the door. Let's see how it does. So I think it'll sell fine, because one, it's Star Wars, and also it's coming, you know, about a month before Rise of Skywalker comes to theaters. So, Star Wars will be hot around this time with anticipation. So, here we go. I will be curious to see how this game sells, to see if it's...
Start Wars will be hot with anticipation.
Hot.
That's a quote, Marcus.
There we go. It's the box poster quote, wherever you want to put it.
It's hot and waiting for you.
It's got that Jedi hotness.
Oh my god.
Hotter than a lightsaber. Are lightsabers hot? I've always wanted to generate heat. I don't.
I feel like it's probably like a dry ice kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where it's still very powerful, even though it's not hot. So it's the Force.
I feel like, or maybe it does. I feel like there's scenes, or like in games where like someone turns on a lightsaber in the rain, and you can see the rain hitting it and kind of like being like psst or something.
Which could happen with dry ice.
Kylo Ren's lightsaber definitely looks hot, because like the only reason he has the crossbar is that those are supposed to be like exhaust vents, because it's like unstable or something. I don't know. Somebody, I'm sure it exists. It's probably a simple Google.
Yeah, there's probably like a science video out there that someone made.
Yeah, pick up.
Actually, I guarantee it. It's out there.
I wish I had the Star Wars encyclopedia I used to have as a kid, but it would be out of date at this point. 'Cause it was before the prequel trilogy came out.
Oh my gosh.
So. But yeah, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Pokemon, same day, 11:15. Pick your side. Who's it going to be?
Call into work.
Pretty much call into work. And then 4 days later on September, oh my god, November 19th is another long-awaited game, and that is Shenmue 3, which has been delayed. Oh, you got some thoughts.
I have some questions. Okay. This feels like one of those games where people just kind of got all internet-y about it. Like, they just started saying something ridiculous, like, oh, where's Shenmue 3, And then it just became reality.
I mean, it's definitely prior to...
I mean, not saying that it's, like, not a solid game franchise or anything like that, but, like, it totally feels like one of those games.
Yeah, it was. Like, prior to it getting announced in 2015, I believe it's when the crowdfunding campaign was announced, it was in the same conversation of, like, Half-Life 3 and Final Fantasy 7 Remake and Kingdom Hearts 3 of, like, hey, we want these, dream games. When are these going to happen? Like, you always kept hearing, like, oh, man, Shenmue 3. I think because... And I've never played Shenmue 1 or 2. I have the collection. I would like to get to both of them before this comes out, because I've always been very curious about that series just because of its reputation. But I believe Shenmue 2 ends on a cliffhanger. So I think that's why Shenmue 3 has been, because, it's got an unresolved story that's been left hanging for over a decade.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I was wondering, like, why? Because, I mean, I can understand, like, a Final Fantasy 7 remake and... things like that, like, but Shenmue? It's not like one of those games that you can go to your parents with. You can definitely say Final Fantasy to them, and they'll have a vague notion, but if you say Shenmue, they'll be like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, like, Shenmue, back in its time, like, I remember hearing nothing but good things about it. Like, it had one of those it was never, like, a blockbuster franchises, but it had, like, a very passionate cult following. Like, the people that liked those games were really like them. And, yeah, like, 2... doesn't resolve whatever story it's trying to tell. So, like, you're like, oh man, I can't wait for Shenmue 3. And then fast forward like 15 years later. And, we'll finally get it. And like I said, this game...
Final Fantasy 16.
It's been, right? And, God. And, like, this game has been in the works for 4 years now. It's been delayed multiple times. It was crowdfunded initially. And then, it's a Sony... I believe... It's a PlayStation exclusive, just because when it was announced, it was on Sony stage at E3. So I think so. It was actually announced the same year as the Final Fantasy 7 remake. It was the same E3 presentation. So I remember at the time that being like a mind-blowing thing, like these two dream projects both getting announced at the same time. And then this one's coming out first, assuming it doesn't get delayed again. But yeah, I can't say much about it. Like, I haven't played them, so I don't have any attachment or personal anticipation. I'm more anticipating if it actually sticks to this date and comes out.
You cynic.
I think it will. I think this will be the one. I don't think they could afford to push it again.
Yeah, I don't think they could, really.
So I think this is the one. They should have done like a big, like, overblown reveal event like Final Fantasy 15 did for its release date that wound up getting delayed like 2 weeks. But they should do that. They should announce the fashion of Shenmue 3. They should announce the Shenmue 3 expanded media universe. Where, like, here's the Shenmue 3 prequel animated movie that we got Aaron Paul for. He's playing the main character. Like, I want all that. I want an actual forklift that you can drive. Like, they just give it to you.
Oh, man. Okay, before I go on a tangent about the Final Fantasy 15 movie, maybe we should move on to the next game.
Like, not even Final Fantasy 15, the movie specifically.
Yes, Kingsglaive. Okay.
It's the best Final Fantasy movie. It's not a high bar at all. But
no, it's not.
Out of the three, it's by far the best one. Because Spirits Within is a bad movie, and Advent Children is overrated as hell.
It really is.
It is not a good movie. When you watch it,
has no solid basis.
Watch it out of its time, and you're like, this is a bad movie. It just has characters that I really like in it, and it is about a world that I have fondness for, but the movie itself as a film is not good.
It's just about showcasing Cloud's hair, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kingsglaive I watched twice for on purpose because it was solid. But then I watched it with people who have no idea anything about Final Fantasy, and they're like, what the hell is even going on? And I'm like, okay, that's a fair point. And we can leave it at that.
Sean Bean, see him? There he is. Sean Bean, Lena Headey. You got 2 Game of Thrones. Okay. This is basically Game of Thrones, but Final Fantasy.
Oh, God.
And a little bit of Breaking Bad.
Oh, no.
And then this brings us to our final game of this discussion. Because, believe it or not, December doesn't really have anything, and I was going by Wikipedia's list, but there's nothing really big in December that we know of, and then everything else that we haven't mentioned don't have actual, concrete release dates yet.
Yeah, there's plenty of games that I want, but, they're out in the ether.
Yeah, there are games supposedly slated for 2019 that still haven't had their actual dates nailed down, so that, it could still get dated, by the time this goes up,
Seriously, the day you put this up, Marcus, we're going to get some of those really hotly anticipated game release dates.
Yeah, there's one, off the top of my head, there's one called Telling Lies that I'm really looking forward to. That is the spiritual follow-up to Her Story. Same developer, same style of game. If you've ever played Her Story, live-action cutscenes, investigation thing. That is supposed to be this year, but that does not have a date, which is why I did not bring it up. One game that I will shout out real quick that I didn't include here, but it only came out, I think, yesterday that it's got its date, is Concrete Genie, which is the Sony exclusive game that's been floating around the last couple years with the kid that graffitis on, and his graffiti comes to life, and he kind of looks like Delson Rowe from Infamous Second Son. That
shout out.
I think that was shown off of a Paris game show or a PSX a couple years ago, and it's popped up now and again since then, but not very often. But they finally reemerged with that game yesterday and showed the actual moment to moment gameplay, and that I believe is coming September or something. But I know it's got a date now, so there it is. So we'll just kind of an honorable mention to Concrete Genie there. That game looks cool. I'm interested in it. But the last game that we're going to talk about today is coming November 20... Whoops, 20... I lost it. November...
20 whoops.
20 whoops, yes. November...
Whoopsie.
November 22nd, and that is Doom Eternal. This is the successor to the 2016 Doom game. And I'm so excited for this because I love that last Doom game. To me, that is one of the best shooters of this generation, arguably the best, depending on what you're looking for. But it was so refreshing because of how old school it was. It was almost like Breath of the Wild, where Breath of the Wild is a brilliant game. But when you really think about it, it's really just doing what the original Legend of Zelda, the first Legend of Zelda did, and just brought it to a new generation. But it's the same philosophy of hey, we're going to drop you into a world and then figure it out. There's no, there's no Ocarina style, Zelda style, or not even Ocarina, but really Links to the Past of hey, here's some dungeons. You have to do them in a set order. That's Zelda until it's not. And then Breath of the Wild going back to the drawing board. What if we just took that first game and just built around that? Whereas Doom 2016 was let's just do Doom, 90s style Doom, like, let's not incorporate any of the, like, design tropes that we've seen in kind of the post-Modern Warfare scene for shooters. And let's just do that, but, like, you know, polish it up for this generation. And, like, you know, you don't even reload in that game.
Oh my gosh, that feels so nice, though.
Yeah, it's amazing. And, like, Doom Eternal looks all more or less like more of that, but, like, better, I guess, which I'm 100% on board for. You did play Doom, right? The last Doom?
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
What'd you think? Like it? Fan?
I liked it. I didn't beat it, but I liked it. I liked what they did. It's exactly like you said. It was just a faithful plop down into a next generation. But that's fine. You know, it's definitely one of those games where you can take your rage out and just shoot everything.
Yeah.
And it's so fast. That's the crazy part. It was really crazy getting used to how fast that game was, like, compared to whatever I was playing at the time.
Yeah.
You're just zipping around shooting stuff. I mean,
like
it's just,
yeah,
like, solid to its core gameplay.
Yeah, like, it made you almost forget prior to that game that that's what shooters were in those formative years of the genre. It was like Doom set the template for, like, I mean, if you want to be technical, really, Wolfenstein 3D, but Doom was the one that blew up after it and put first-person shooters on the map. And, like, I was amazed at how, like, fast Doom was, because that's what original Doom was. That was the calling card of Doom, was like, it is so fast-paced. Like, you're going in a room, murder everything. Like, if you stop for a second, you're probably gonna die, because you're just getting shot at by all angles. So it's about just getting in there and just almost like just
move,
twitch reflexes,
move,
like
move.
always moving. And I was just blown away by how the new Doom retained that and made it even better, even with the glory kills, which are like the finishing moves, like the ripping people's hearts out of their chests and stuff like that, which I remember being that being a concern for a lot of fans, me too, of like, oh, is that going to slow things down? Because that was like a brand new idea, and then it wound up complementing the speed. And yeah, like this game won't have the same surprise factor that this, because, you know, it's like, okay, now we know what this is gonna be. But like I like watching people play it at E3. Like, I didn't play it, but I watched a lot of people play it, and it looks like that game. But like, it just, like, the glory kills look cool. Now Hell has taken over Earth, so it's more or less Doom 2 again. It's like Doom 2 Hell on Earth again. Yeah, like, that just looks like a blast. Like, much like Gears of War, of like, I don't really need this to be any more than just another 2016 Doom with more things to kill and some more abilities. So it's like, I'm totally down for that. And like, again, dude, 2016 was 3 years ago, so it's high time that we got another one of these. So I'm super psyched. This is another one that's going to be a day one for me. So
yeah. Oh, I forgot to ask you. Not that you're going to be day one for Sword or Shield, at least I'm assuming. But which version would you get?
I don't know. I don't know if it really matters. Like, neither of the legendaries are like...
Oh, it matters. It matters a lot.
I mean, I guess it, like, I would imagine, like, because, you know, like, the old games, like, some Pokemon you can only get in others, but we don't know what that divide will be yet. So it comes down to, like, I guess which legendary you want to catch?
They've shown some, like, gym leaders that are exclusive and stuff like that.
Oh, gym leaders? That's a new thing, right? Okay, I was like, I didn't know that. So, like, do you still get 8 badges for all of them, but some badges are different?
I think they went with a different format. They, at least from what I've seen, it's like kind of an open world style with that, where you can choose but when you want to tackle them.
So you can fight any gym in any order? You don't have to, like...
I'm not sure. I think for sure they did something different with the gym system, though. It's not just 8 and then you go and battle the Elite Four.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I would have to look into that, but I guess in terms of, like, the legendaries, like, I don't know, like, they don't really jump off the page at me in terms of, like, oh, those are super cool. Like, they're whatever. Like,
But it's a sword
shield guy
puppy.
and sword in mouth.
Puppy.
Like, I guess I'll go
They're puppies.
Maybe I'll do sword? Because, I don't know, he's got a sword in his mouth. Reminds me of the boss from Dark Souls.
Yep.
Lady Sif. So, she's cool. So, I guess he's cool by association.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Why? Which one are you getting?
Oh, I'll have access to both, no matter what.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I'm one of those.
It's a moot
I'm probably
point.
going
Maybe
to
I'll wait
pre-order the deluxe pack, which has both. Which, God, Nintendo has their hooks in me.
I'll just wait for Pokemon Gun to become a real thing. I'll just get that one.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll say sword for now, I guess. Why not?
Okay.
Yeah, that is it. And, you know, if we didn't talk about anything that you're looking forward to, I mean, odds are, one, it doesn't have, like I said, a concrete date yet, just 2019. Or maybe it was something that neither of us were super jazzed about personally. Like, again, I think the biggest game that we omitted that does have a date is Ghost Recon. That looks fine, but neither of us are Ghost Recon fans, so, you know, can't really say much about it other than that it's happening. But yeah, if you want to share with us any games that you're excited for that we did not touch on, please do so. And Naomi, where can they reach out to you on the interwebs?
On the interwebs, you can find me at Naomi Lugo. And for those of you who don't know how to spell Naomi, it's Naomi, because pretty much any time I have to say my name, I have to spell it all out. Anyway, yeah, you can find me there, or I'm on Best Games Period with the lovely Jack Gardner, and that is all at Best Games Period, and we talk about some of the best games of all time, and Marcus has been on the show a couple times.
Yeah.
More than a couple times.
I was on the most recent episode about Cuphead.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, it's a good game. Too bad the but the DLC to that was supposed to be this year, but it got pushed to next year. I'm sad. Yeah.
I just suck at it, so.
To be fair, it's fair. It's a hard game. Yeah. And if you want to reach out to me, you can find me on Twitter at MarcusStewart7. That's the number 7, as well as on my personal website, marcuswritesaboutgames.wordpress.com. And as always, you can find the show on YouTube at Marcus Makes Media, as well as SoundCloud at Marcus Makes Media, and iTunes at Marcus Writes About Games. And that wraps up this comprehensive, amazing, best preview ever done in all time, 2019 in video games. Thank you for joining me, Naomi. It looks like a bright fall. You know, we're in a transition year. This will be the last holiday of this generation before next year, when the next gen dawns upon us. So, you know, this is kind of significant in that sense. You know, this time next year we'll have new hardware.
Not ready.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming. Yeah. Also, I will say real quick, the last thing, this isn't a game, but Google Stadia will be launching in September, I believe it is. So that'll be.
Is it really that soon?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Or at least like soft launching. I mean, it's technically launching, but you have to pay the super like $100 50 version to get in. Like, it doesn't the full.
Oh, I think I did that.
Oh,
and when I say I did that, I think my husband did that.
Oh, he pre-ordered it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I'll have to let you know how it is. But we also have Google Fi, which kind of, I'm sure they launched in, or they didn't launch, but they had the Google Fi system ready for this. So it kind of helps with the whole, how am I going to have enough data for this? So I think it's kind of a selling point for them to push Google Fi onto people, which is Google Wi-Fi basically. It's a Google, also phone service. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll let you know how it is.
Yeah, I might have to have you back on the show when that comes out to tell me all about that, because I'm very curious.
Yeah, in case I don't remember it again. But I think they're sending us something physical. So
you get the controller and I think Chromecast or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think we it's like the founder's controller or something like that.
Yeah, did he pick a screen name? Because that was the other part. Like, you get your name before anyone else.
I don't know, but probably.
Okay. I'll have to know what that is. So yeah, we'll have you back on to tell us all things Google Stadia when the time comes. And
all right.
In the meantime, guys, thank you for listening, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.